for me. All right, we're live. Let me hit the song. All right, we're live, right? So watch what you say. Give it a second to play, and some people are getting here.
Yo, hold up, what's the 411 on this cat? He's a cop watcher, a truth teller, laying it all bare, shining a light on injustice, showing he just don't care about their intimidation tactics, that twisted up lies. He's got a camera in their face, watching with his own eye. Going down the street in my hoopty, feeling the bass, see them blue and reds flashing, all up in my space. Another traffic stop, another power truck display. License and registration is all they ever say, but I know my rights, see I ain't no fool. They wanna play games, but I'm keeping my cool. I don't answer questions, that's my opening line. Got them frustrated, messing with their whole design. They pull me over, flashing lights so bright, asking dumb questions, trying to start a fight. Are you a sovereign citizen with a smirk and a sneer? Fuck you, I'm not a cop, is all they're gonna hear. Got my camera rolling, every move they make, for every crooked copper, for goodness sake. This is for the people who've been pushed around. John Felix on the scene, holding it down. Talk about officer safety, a tired old excuse for violating liberties and all kinds of abuse. They think that badge gives them a right to be the king, but we the people pay the salary and we're the ones who sing the song of freedom, the anthem of the just, exposing that corruption in the system we don't trust. From illegal searches to tyrannical demands, I stand my ground firmly with the law in my hand. They pull me over, flashing lights so bright, asking dumb questions, trying to start a fight. Are you a sovereign citizen with a smirk and a sneer? Fuck you, I'm not a cop, is all they're gonna hear. Got my camera rolling, every move they make, for every crooked copper, for goodness sake. This is for the people who've been pushed around. John Felix on the scene, holding it down. They talk of lies, this ain't no game. Know your amendments, speak their name. The first, the fourth, the fifth, that's the trifecta. Protects you from the goons who wanna disrespect you. They might have the weapons, they might have the crew, but knowledge is power, me and you, we know it's true. So next time you see him with that arrogant swagger, remember John Felix, the lyrical dagger. Peace to the auditors, the watchers in the street, keeping the pressure on, can't be beat.
This song takes forever. All right, let's stop it. All right, what's up, everybody? How you doing today? Welcome in, welcome in. Let me say hi to some people, and then we'll get started. Monkey83, first and foremost, bro. Sorry, I forgot to bring you up about the crew. I forgot about you, bro, and I apologize. It was Eric, it was Liberty Freak, it was Monkey83, it was Regan Benson, and if I forgot anybody else, I apologize. Let's say hi. Heidenvik. Zeke Heil. Oh, sorry. Heidenvik. That I don't know why. It's probably not even German. Chuck Bronson, Brian Johnson, what's up? No Name Coder, what's up, bro? Jen Wow. Galveston Island Transparency, what's up? I just saw a thing out of Galveston County, I think it was, where police chief was just anyone he hated, he just went and set their house on fire. DMC 0 Hour, what's up? Nicole, what's up? Mega Man, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Lacey, Free Eric. This person's name is Lacey R _ Free Eric Brandt. How wonderful is that? HBO Matt, what's up? Looks like Freeman joined Gavin Syme just in time for the cartel civil war. I hope that's not true, HBO Matt. I hope you're joking. There's some theories online what happened to Freeman, but I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it, bro. He puts out some stuff that the government doesn't like. He really does, man. And when you have that kind of reach and you put out that kind of message, you kind of almost have to be in hiding. Some of the biggest journalists in the world are in South America, in Tokyo, because they say the truth about what goes on in this country, and they had to go into exile. 0 Hour says, is Brandt still in prison? Well, he's on the phone in a minute. He'll let you know. Anything he's allowed to say anyway. I'm not going to push, and if there's questions he's not allowed to answer, he's not going to answer them. It's not going to be a wide open interview because he's not completely in the clear, so to speak. Thomas Moreno, what's up? Moreno wool. I want to buy some Moreno wool shirts. I heard they're pretty cool. Joseph Craney, Jen. Okay, what else we got? Happy After Cops Day. Yes, yes, yes. Our guy, what's up? Megan, Coaster Q, what's up? Did I miss anybody? Fitzcam, what's up? All right. I'm skipping everybody. I'm sorry if I missed you, man. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling and I'm sorry. Okay. All right, on the line, everybody. Straight from I don't know where, and I don't care. I'm just glad he's able to be on the phone and possibly free Eric. I mispronounced your name like an idiot. Eric Brandt, welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, John, long time.
Yes, sir.
There was a lot of names that I recognized from the past. That's incredible.
Absolutely.
I'm a little surprised that the government still let all of those people be alive.
Can you guys hear him okay? What'd you say? You're surprised what?
I'm surprised that the government has allowed all those people to remain alive.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree, buddy. I hear that.
I thought for sure that they would have been sent to a retraining camp.
Re-education camp.
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to build the infrastructure, man, if we're being honest. All right. They say, okay, good. They say they can hear him. Good. All right.
Oh, good. Well, I haven't I've kept kind of a low profile, and I haven't given any real updates in a long time. So I appreciate you asking me to do this.
The honor's all mine, bro. The honor is all mine, sir.
Hey, so what do you want to know?
I want to ask, what is it that put you in prison in the first place?
Yeah, so the conviction that I agreed to accept was attempted retaliation against a judge through an act of electronic harassment.
Attempted retaliation against the judge through electronic. Say that again.
Through an act of electronic harassment.
And that's why you were sentenced to 12 years?
I was sentenced to 4 years for each of the 3 charges, and he stacked them. So they were consecutive. So the total is 12 years, yes.
And that was in 2019 or 2020?
No, the conviction was in 2021 is when the sentencing was.
Okay, so less than 5 years.
Basically 5 years ago, yeah. And I had almost 6 months of pre-sentence confinement, so I've done almost 6 years so far on the 12 years.
Now, you were telling me about while you were in one prison, something happened. Are you allowed to talk about that?
So about 2 years ago, the federal marshals came and took me to Louisiana on a federal warrant.
Can you be more specific about that or no?
Yeah, so back 6 years ago, a sheriff deputy down in Louisiana was fucking with James Freeman. Oh, I have to say fuck on this channel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was messing with James Freeman's family in the park. And a lot of us called down there, and they decided that my statement of that they deserved to have their blood cells removed with a pair of tweezers, that constituted interstate domestic terrorism.
The cops were messing with James Freeman's family, and you said where? Where'd you say this, on a YouTube channel or something?
No, I called the sheriff's department.
And you said their blood cells should be removed with tweezers?
I said that they deserved to have their blood cells removed with a pair of tweezers.
And they turned that into a cross-border domestic terrorist threat?
That's right. I will tell you that in the discovery, what actually got James put in handcuffs and thrown in the car was that some caller called and told them that they gave his real name and that he was a fugitive of justice and a dangerous armed man out of Texas, and that he was on the run from justice. So that's what actually got him put in the car. Yeah, they tried to enhance the situation by saying that I caused a serious disruption of government operations for causing their entire dispatch system to crash.
Okay.
The judge didn't buy that. For one thing, he's like, but you said that he made 2 phone calls. Yes, Your Honor, but there were so many people calling in that we had to reset the board, and we could have missed a phone call that was legitimate in there. And then I asked
other people
a question. Yeah, I asked the prosecutor. I said, can I ask Mr. Kennedy a question, Your Honor? And he said, yes. I said, can you please explain to me the mechanism? You've told me that I called from Colorado, right? And he said, yes. And I said, can you explain to me the mechanism that would be involved for me to make a phone call to 911 and get a dispatch center 2,000 miles away? And he kind of floundered on it. I said, do you think it's more probable that I dialed the sheriff's phone number and you decided to patch me through to your emergency services? I don't have any control over that.
Right. Because when you call 911, it goes to the nearest one.
Yeah, and so the judge was like, well, it's obvious that this situation was of such import that a lot of people were upset about it, and I'm not going to find that Mr. Grant caused your dispatch system to crash. That's just ridiculous.
So you were in a Louisiana jail. The feds, and the marshals come and try to extradite you, or they did extradite you?
No. I was in a Colorado prison. I was here. In Colorado, and the federal marshals came and snatched me up from the prison here on a warrant and took me to Louisiana to be prosecuted there. I was down there for a year.
Louisiana has some of the worst judges. That's why they took some of the protesters from New York and shipped them right down to Louisiana for some reason.
Yeah, because, well, I guess I have some political opinions that I should keep to myself, but they've got a particular kind of breed of politician down there.
They sure do.
Probably incompatible with civilized society.
Yeah, and freedom. And free speech for sure. The people I'm talking about were sent down there for free speech. So, so they took you to Louisiana. Mm-hmm. They put you in a Louisiana jail, and then how long before you got to see a judge?
So the federal process is very slow. I'll tell you that. But I mean, I saw a judge right away when I got there. I saw the judge the very next day that I got down there. My judge's last name was Long. I think it's very long. A little bit of research on Very Long revealed that he was a former FBI agent.
Okay.
And he apparently is best friends with Christopher Wray, who they were best men at each other's weddings, and
that name sounds familiar. That's one of Bush's people, right?
FBI director at the time.
Okay.
So that made everybody a little bit nervous that that my judge was a cop and I'm the fuck the cops guy.
Uh-huh.
But I will tell you that. I mean, it's a slow process, but he was really actually quite a good judge.
He was fair.
I read some of his opinions. I really wanted to see how he treated pro se litigants and prisoners. And, he doesn't give them a pass. Pro se guys and prisoners are really kind of hard plaintiffs to deal with. There's a lot of, limitations on what they can do, and they have a lot of misunderstandings of the legal processes. And the federal courts anyway are generally reasonably, they try to give a pass. He didn't give them a blanket pass, but he also was pretty harsh on prosecutors and law enforcement.
That's a unicorn.
It kind of really, I felt that he was a very conscientious judge trying to do the right thing, and he clearly put work into his opinions. And then when we got to the sentencing day, he didn't disappoint. I was on the mark there. So
that's good. So sentencing day, the judge is like, get the hell out of here with that crap, basically. And then what? You got sent back to Colorado?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so how much time you spent in Louisiana for that BS?
I got back to Colorado almost to the day, exactly 1 year.
So that is there any recourse for you for that false? I guess would that be a false arrest or what?
No. I took a plea bargain there for an interstate telephone harassment.
Mm-hmm.
For strategic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That I probably should leave to myself at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah. So one thing you should know is that the feds rarely do concurrent time. They nearly always do consecutive time.
Can you tell me the difference there, please?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So take for example, my 3 charges here in Colorado. If he had sentenced me to 4 years on each charge to be served concurrently, it would have been a 4-year sentence. But because he sentenced me consecutively, it became a 12-year sentence. So the courts can say, okay, I'm going to sentence you for this, and I'm going to run it consecutive to the case that you're already in custody on. So you got to finish that case and then come to me. Or you can say it's concurrent, which means they both run at the same time.
Oh, okay. So basically, concurrent's what you want.
One would prefer to have concurrent.
So if you
if
got
they're on
four,
this
if you
side
got
of the
four
defendant's table, yes.
if you got 4 charges, each one carries 5 years. They run consecutive. You're doing 20 years. But if they run concurrent, you're only
That's
doing
right.
5.
That's right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Good.
So, but my DOC record is absolutely immaculate.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah, and so where they didn't have programs available for me. You can't just take any program you want. There's limited number of seats, and their assessment and risk analysis and treatment tools, they kind of dictate which programs you're allowed to participate in, right? And my needs and treatment needs and education needs were so low that I almost couldn't get into any programs. So I basically helped build programs, and I've never had a write up. And I've always been pretty good at compartmentalizing my interactions, right? So those of you guys who know me very well, you see a completely different side of me than when I'm interacting with bad cops on the street, right?
Yeah, you know how to separate the two. A lot of auditors don't know how to do that. They audit the cops and then they'll go to a restaurant, audit the waitress the same way. It's like, whoa, bro, you.
Yeah, no, you have to compartmentalize that, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's difficult to navigate the boundaries, right? I will say that but in prison, it's probably a good idea not to have a power struggle with people that have keys.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I really didn't have to have power struggles, right? So I don't want to take up all of your SWAT time, but I'll tell you a little bit about how the trip went.
You can go for 2 hours if you want. Go for it.
Well, I probably can't go for 2 hours.
Whatever you want.
I mean, I could, but not in this environment.
I'm just saying, don't worry about me.
Yeah, okay. So because my sentence was so long, I was sent to a medium level facility, which is a level 3 facility. Level 3s are really perhaps the most dangerous facilities. When you go higher up in custody, then you're in situations where you're in your own cell and you're never around more than a couple of inmates at a time, right? So your really dangerous people are in the higher level custodies where they're locked down all day. And when you get to the medium levels, you're out in a room with 200 guys every day. And there are absolutely gangs. They call them security threat groups. And there's violence and people are taken advantage of.
Gambling.
If they don't like you, they'll check you in. And I have absolutely witnessed murders.
I bet you have.
Yeah. So my first facility was, I suppose I'll classify it as a Thunderdome. There's worse facilities for sure, but it was pretty hopping.
So you're in a room with 200 guys. You basically are on a slight paranoia at all times, or looking over your shoulder at all times.
We had cells. We did have cells, but during the day the doors are open and it's multi-tiered, and there's the whole population on a pod, if you will, is close to 200 guys. So when I first got there, I had gone through the COVID, right? I came in during COVID. And so every time I moved from one location to another, we had to do 2 or 3 weeks worth of quarantine each time. So the first 2 months that I was in prison, I was on quarantine the whole time.
What does that mean? In your cell all day?
Isolated in your own cell all day. That's right.
Okay.
And, so I'm a little bit older. I have a brand new number. And, big old scruffy gray beard and glasses and, older guys with brand new numbers. I mean, they're like almost invariably chomos, right? So.
So they kind of assumed that you were in there because you did something bad to a kid.
That's right.
They stereotyped you.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
And so when I came in, I had 3 little legal boxes of paperwork because I had 10 cases open at the time. And at the reception center, they took all of my folders. They took all of the staples out of my paperwork. They took the boxes, and they gave me 3 trash bags full of loose papers.
No, that's fun.
Is what I got back.
Okay.
And I never did recover from that entirely. So I finally get off of the quarantine process, and I wheel my little cart into this big room, and I see my cell number is way over on the other side of the room, and I'm squeaking my little cart across with your mattress and your property, right? What little you have at that point, and everybody's standing up on the rail, and you have, the Crips are over here, the Mexicans are over here, everybody's in their little. The white guys they're all watching.
Are they barking at you?
Are they what?
Are they barking at you as you go by like you see in the movies?
Oh, yeah, they're like, oh, we got fresh meat, fresh fish, blah, 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 blah. They're scoping you out, right? So I get up to my cell, and there's this super fucking jacked Hispanic guy who called himself Too Deep, because nobody actually has real names in there. And I don't really know what Too Deep meant, but it definitely did not have a relationship to his cognitive abilities.
I could guess what that means.
Yeah.
Go on.
So he's all, puffed out as I get to the room, and he's like, "You got papers?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got lots of papers." If you don't know what that means, it means that they want to see your sentencing paperwork. They need to know if you have a derogatory case. Because if I had a derogatory case, he wouldn't be allowed to let me in the room.
What does that mean, derogatory case?
Chomo.
Who wouldn't be allowed to let you in the room? The other inmate?
Yeah, if you let a chomo into your room, then you're going to be corrected by your gang.
How's he going to stop you?
Oh, because you'll either go push the button and tell the guards that you're in fear for your life.
Yeah.
Or they'll kill you.
So you push the button, then what happens?
Then they'll put you in isolation cell for your protection.
For how long?
Until they figure it out.
Wow. So
yeah.
He asking you for your paperwork to make sure you're not a chomo. Did you show it to him?
Right. I knew that this was where he was going with this, right? Because I've, I have some knowledge of that. So I knew exactly what he meant when he said, "You got papers?" But I'm like, "Yeah, I got lots of papers." He's like, "I'm going to need to see your papers."
I would have been like, "Yeah, you need 1 1/4, 1.5."
Yeah, I'm an open book. Don't worry. And so then I start bringing up these trash bags full of paperwork, right?
Yeah.
And I show him this article and this case and this lawsuit. And after about 20 minutes of me going on and just barraging him with all of this paperwork that I know for certain he can't comprehend anyway, he's standing there with all these papers in his hand, kind of fanned out in both hands. And he looks at me and he goes, "Are you a fucking chomo or not?"
Wow. No, bro. No, I'm not.
So I drugged that one out for a half an hour.
Woo.
That was interesting. He was a rough cellmate to live with. He was something else.
He said he was jacked?
Well, he was. I've personally witnessed him break the cables on the exercise equipment twice.
What was he there for?
Oh yeah. So he wasn't my cellie for too long. They paroled him. So he had previous violent convictions and had served like 12 years total. And then he was out, and he had a baby mama. They had a couple kids, and they had a falling out. And so she's living in a house, and she's got a new boyfriend. And there's a rumor, substantiated or not, that this guy is touching his kids.
Oh.
So he goes over to the house one night, and he breaks out all the windows on the lower floor, and he feeds a garden hose through the window, and he turns water and he floods the whole bottom of the house, completely fucking it up overnight.
Wow.
Yeah. So then on another night, he knows that the kids are at the grandmother's. So he goes over to the house. The windows are now all boarded up, right? And he douses the front porch with gasoline, and he lights the house on fire.
Because he thought some guy was touching his kids?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
So her girlfriend was there that night, staying with her kids downstairs, and everybody barely got out of the house alive. So they gave him 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they paroled him at 4 years.
Okay.
3.5 years. Yeah. So, because you don't want to parole the nonviolent people, because then you don't keep the prison pipeline running. You've got to parole the people that you know are going to come back.
Oh, yeah, to keep that system going.
Yeah. So, but he was difficult to live with. He was very difficult to live with.
I can imagine.
And there were guys in there that knew who I was. Like they were like excited when I was there because they knew who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then instantaneously, now I'm like in with everybody. So I did not have any issues. So in fact, some of the key holders, those are the people that run their little gang, they went to this guy and they told him that he better fucking back the fuck off.
When you say
or it's going to be a problem for him.
When you say key holders, are you talking about the corrections officers?
No, key holders. So when you're in that kind of an environment, the correction officers, the guards are really not the ones that are running the program.
Okay.
I mean, they have functions, but and they'll take you down and pepper spray you and beat you to death if they need to or want to. And but the gangs run the system. Like if you're if you're a white boy and there's a paisa that has done you wrong, you can't just go fuck that guy up. You have to go to your command structure, and then they'll go to his command structure, and then they'll figure out what the solution is. And generally it is that the paisa has to take care of their boy or there's going to be a fight.
Did you have your own structure, so to speak, your own clique?
No, some prisons you absolutely have to ride in a car. That's called riding in a car.
Mm-hmm.
But no, where I was, you didn't really have to ride in a car. You could be independent and get away with that. But if you're independent, your protection level is maybe a little bit lower. But I was in a unique condition in that I was pretty much protected by all of them.
Can you tell a story about the COs that were really bad?
Oh, well, so I was in Bend County for about a year, and then I went to Trinidad. And actually, I kind of like Trinidad. For one thing, I could see my ranch from the window.
Where's Trinidad?
It's in southeastern Colorado, south central Colorado.
And what could you see from where?
I could see my ranch.
Your what?
My property.
Your own personal private property?
Yeah.
From the jail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, they wanted me to work on the wastewater plant, and everybody approved me all the way up until the last meeting. And the security guy said, Brandt can't work in wastewater. And they're like, why not? He says, because I won't give him a gate pass. He had to go outside the gate to work in the sewage plant.
Yeah.
But it's a good certification, right? And he said, he has property here. And I'm like, come on, what am I going to do? Hide behind a cactus? Look at me.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, you're not Carl Weathers or Carl Lewis, whoever the hell. Go on.
So yeah, I mean, I know, and so Trinidad is level 2, so there's a lot more autonomy. You're not a controlled movement, like the saying, if you're in a place where one door must close before another one opens, you're probably in a prison.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Trinidad was configured differently. They were each building only had 100 people in it.
Okay.
And it was 6 hallways. We had a key to our own room.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it was, we didn't have controlled movement. I mean, if I wanted to go to the library, I could just go.
So how long were you in the first jail or prison before you went to that one?
About a year.
So you spent most of your time in
Trinidad? The only reason I was there was because of the length of my sentence, because all the rest of my scores were all low.
You spent most of the time in Trinidad?
I did, yeah.
So then that was better than the previous Colorado one, huh? Without the hundreds of people and a big pod.
Yeah, I mean it's still Colorado,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a lower level. So Bent County has got steel fences, multiple layers of fences and electric fences that can kill you, and they'll release dogs, and
yeah, you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere, and you spend most of your time inside, and you spend a good portion of that time locked in your room.
Oh, really? And what's in the room?
Yeah, I mean, huh?
What do you have in your room?
Oh, at Bent County, you had a tiny little slit for a window.
Mm-hmm.
So, not big enough to punch it. It's so smaller than your fist.
Okay.
And you have your bunk bed and your cellmate and a chair and a little table and connections for your TV.
Now, you always have a cellmate. How do you know they're not just gonna wake up one night in a rage and just off you? You don't, do you?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a concern, right? My first celly was interesting, right? Like, I was nervous with him.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, he had all kinds of weird rules, and he would keep track of how fast my soap was being consumed to make sure that I was bathing enough, and how quickly my toothpaste tube would go down, and
why?
He wouldn't let me go to bed with my pants on.
What? So he had you under?
Yeah, because I could bring in dirt from the day room and bring that into my bed, and I'm like, it's my fucking bed. And no, that was an issue. And I said, you make me sleep facing the wall, motherfucker, we're gonna have a problem.
Wow.
So, yeah.
See, I don't know how I would handle that, man. I don't know. I'd probably want to off him before you off me. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that there's a lot of violence in that environment.
I'm sure.
But I was somewhat protected. So,
dude, thank God, bro. My God.
The key holders of all of the groups, they weren't going to let anybody touch me.
So they don't have necessarily keys. That's just a phrase, right?
Right. They're the ones in the upper command structure is in charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? You know that I pretty much do get along with anybody as long as they're not just fucking retarded, right? But actually, retarded doesn't bother me. It really has to do with maliciousness.
Yeah.
If you're malicious, then I kind of have a problem. If you're exacting injustices against people that are vulnerable, then that's definitely an intrinsic trigger for me to intervene. But most people aren't being malicious most of the time, right?
Oh, okay, good.
So, getting along with people is actually not difficult for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as long as they're not being effed with too hard, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't have Too Deep. Jason Ramirez was his actual name for too long. And then they had this huge shakedown and they moved everybody around. And so I moved to a different unit and I had a celly there that was actually really good. Really, I've had very few cellies that were irritating.
Mm-hmm.
One that was dangerous, that was Too Deep, and pretty much everybody else I've meshed with pretty well.
The cellmate you had in the second prison, he was okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even the others, I had 3 other cellies in Benton County too, and they were okay. But yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to stay with a celly either. You can put reasonable requests in to move to different cells.
Okay.
And I would have moved out of Too Deep's room if he had been there long enough for me to need to do it. But
well, yeah, dude, I'm scared of Too Deep right here, and I don't even know the guy.
Like I say, Too Deep was definitely not an indicator of his cognitive processes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, people, let's see. Are you still in jail? People are asking. Answer any way you want. I don't care.
Am still in custody, yes.
Okay, still in custody.
If all goes well, I could be home by Christmas, I hope.
All right. Some guy put in all caps that I'm very ignorant as to how the prison system works. I don't know why he's so angry and yelling. I'm sorry, bro. I'll study up on my prison.
Who's yelling?
Some guy in the comments. It's, all caps. Oh. John, you don't know anything. You're so ignorant about the jail. My son did 18. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's why you're asking the questions, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and
any prison tattoos?
Has issues, in their prison system for sure. But one of the things that I can tell you, I spend a lot of time complaining about things that are going wrong. So let me take a few moments to say things that are going right. The Department of Corrections, because of lawsuits where they have the wrong person in the wrong place, right? You can't put everybody in the same spot because the good guys don't bring the quality of the room up. The bad guys drag them down.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's not appropriate. It's expensive to do higher custody levels, right? The farther down in the custody level you go, the more autonomy people have. They can come and go more as they please. There's less restrictions on that, and that creates dangerous environments, right? The staff ratios drop. So the more control they need to have on you, and the lower the density, if you've got one guy in a cell and it's a metal cell so he can't dig out, and the door is strictly controlled and you only let one or two of them out at a time, if you have to be escorted to the shower and the bathroom, well, you have your own toilet in that case. We call that a wet cell if you have a toilet in your cell.
Oh, they don't all have toilets, huh?
No, not at the lower custody levels. At the lower custody levels, it's more like dormitory style.
Like a community bathroom.
With a bathroom at the end of the hall, yeah. And you want that because wet cells stink, right?
Sure.
And you want that too because if you don't have a wet cell, then there's no way to lock you in.
How often do they let you shower?
It's locked, right? What's that?
How often do they let you shower?
You shower every day.
John, can you ask about how his access to reading material has been?
Reading material is interesting. When I first went down, access to reading materials was difficult because the library was closed a lot.
Yeah.
And because, then there was a lot of lockdowns. And when the Unit 7 guys and the Unit 8 guys managed to somehow get all of the doors open and they went over and murdered that guy, then everybody's locked down. And so you might be locked down for weeks at a time. And it was a lot harder to get good access to reading materials, but people, particularly Marita Gladson and Lacey R., sent me books. And if I asked for a book, people sent me the book. That was not the same down in Louisiana, but in Colorado, access to reading materials was reasonable. I was able to get books and study them in my cell. Louisiana was a little bit different of a beast, but Louisiana.
How often do you get to use the law library? People are asking.
Law library is a different question altogether. So one of the funny things is that library access and law library access are actually protected rights.
Okay.
So they have to provide them. In Bend County, the law library was difficult to get to, but I could still get there a couple times a week. And they were a lot more relaxed in usage. Trinidad, we had access to the law library usually 3 or 4 times a week. There was somebody that came in. And then in Delta, the law librarian was there 4 days a week, and she was dedicated. But then she took a different position at a different facility. And they have not yet been able, it's been over a year ago, and they have yet to hire a replacement for her. And so they have law librarians from other facilities driving over basically 1 day a week. They'll drive over the hill in the morning, do an afternoon session for a couple hours, stay in a hotel, do a morning session in a couple hours, and then drive back the next afternoon. That's been going on for about a year now. It's been really, really limited.
Fluke Dog from the United Kingdom says hello.
Who does? Fluke Dog?
Fluke Dog. F-L-U-K.
I remember Fluke Dog.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
Fluke
you had
Dog.
conversations. And then ask him about his dog funeral. I don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Well, Rusty died,
Oh, yeah. Someone said it's a shame that Rusty died. I didn't know who Rusty was. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Rusty was my wiener.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember the videos with the wiener. Yeah. Please ask Eric. You had a strong 1A amendment defense. Did they lead you to believe that if you pled guilty, the sentence would be light? Thanks for the donation.
Well, yeah, actually, the judge that I had was an incredibly reasonable judge when I took my plea deal, but then they Denver rotated their judges around a couple weeks before my sentencing. So between the plea entering and the sentencing event is when Judge Hoffman swapped in. So there's little doubt that that significantly changed the dynamic. But they were gunning at me really hard, and it was like they wanted like 96 years, something like that.
96 years, and the original charge was. So the charge was the one charge was tweezers and blood cells. What was the original?
Oh, that was the Louisiana charge. The original one was they were doing all kinds of. They had been stacking and stacking and stacking all kinds of cases on me, but primarily they were alleging that I threatened to murder the judges, which is the narrative that they have published.
But you never did that, did you?
I did not.
Are you allowed to say what it is exactly, or if you're not, just say it. It's fine.
The sentencing, I think, is probably available online for people to watch. I think there's transcripts available if people really want to see that.
Okay.
I spoke about it on some other streams, but I took a deal. Partially, obviously, when you're taking a deal, you're trying to mitigate damages, and I just didn't see a way out, and I just. If I wanted to have any sort of life and retire in silence on my own terms, then that was I needed to go that route. But the other thing too was that I wanted to try and tone the temperature down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so whether or not I could have prevailed on a true credible threats doctrine. I mean, that's always a gamble, right? I think it's nearly certain that they couldn't have succeeded on a true credible threats doctrine, but I could have spent 10 to 15 years trying to fight it.
But and also that they could have convinced almost any jury, why did you choose a bench trial? Somebody asking.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have done a bench trial for that either. No.
Well, someone's saying, why he chose a bench trial.
I didn't choose a bench trial. I took a plea.
Oh, he took a plea. Okay. And then
and I spoke at the sentencing, and I don't have all the exact words in front of me, but if somebody wants to find that, I'm sure that's available, because it was a big ordeal that people were broadcasting the sentencing event, and they were all freaked out about it. So I know it's there, but that's probably not a bad idea for somebody to find my allocution. Because, I was speaking basically to the public when I did that. And I was trying to tone down the rhetoric a little bit.
Did you watch the documentary that the Police Accountability Report did about you?
When I was in Louisiana, for potential mitigation, Taya and Stephen did send some draft components to my lawyer. And I was able to see some some draft components of parts of that documentary.
You haven't seen the whole thing yet?
Nope.
Oh man, I'll send it to you after this. Okay, it's pretty good, bro. It's really good.
Oh, yeah, good luck good luck sending me a CD, because they're not allowed.
Good luck. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, so,
yeah, I'll send it to a PO box, and then we'll have an agent from Europe come.
Use a CD as a weapon, so that's not an allowable thing.
Yeah. Okay. Holy curse. Let's see. What reforms does Eric plan to help prisoners now that he's seen the inside?
Oh,
you got to get over his stuff first.
Telling you, we got derailed a little bit, I suppose. Reforms are interesting. I was telling you that they do a reasonably good job of segregating people into they call it classification.
Yeah.
And so they don't want you to be at any higher level of custody than the risk analysis says you should be at. And it's partially financial, and it's partially for your safety, and it's partially to protect them from liability. So when you put, nonviolent white-collar criminals in with serial murderers, bad things happen.
Sure.
And so I think that the classification system is not entirely bad. I mean, at each step of the progression, the environment has been better, and the anxiety level has gone down.
Good.
So, hold on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just had to listen to that announcement.
Joe
Sorry.
Black, the Lord of Blackness, says he has the sentencing video on his channel. I didn't know there was a sentencing video.
Yeah, there's a sentencing video. The sentencing was on live YouTube at the time.
Okay.
So thank you. Yeah. And I don't remember what I said exactly 5 years ago. I remember the tenor of it, but I don't remember my exact words. You guys will have to go watch that to get that. But I don't think that there's anything about what I said that I would change today.
Oh, what you said that's got you in the trouble, you mean?
No, what I said at my sentencing, it probably still valid.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the gist of that?
Well, the gist of it was, as I said, I wanted to say that even if I could have survived, the lawfulness of the statement, that the comments were socially out of line, and so I wanted to take accountability for that and encourage people not to follow that path.
So kind of just because it's legal doesn't mean you should do it.
Huh?
Just because it's legal doesn't mean you should do it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's fair. That's fair, but you shouldn't be thrown in prison for that.
I still contend that the sentence was probably harsher than it needed to be for the correction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was feeling. Their feelings were hurt.
But there's that. So I stand by the accountability that I took, even if the sentence was a sentencing event arguably out of line.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the mechanisms are concerned, I really don't know. I think that they need to improve the access to legal resources. That's a really hard one to get. It's the legal services department is not there to provide legal services to inmates. They're there to comply with the absolute bare minimum that the law requires them to do. And they have vested interests in thwarting litigation, and they're really fucking good at it.
They're really good at what?
At thwarting litigation.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. The grievance process is an absolute joke.
What does that mean, grievance process?
If you have an issue, well, first of all, you can't sue. This is important for anybody that's in custody. If you do not follow the grievance procedure to the absolute T, then no matter how outrageous the treatment was, you cannot sue for it.
Wow.
So the grievance procedure has all these funny little timing deadlines that are difficult for most people to follow. The lower you get in custody, the fewer such problems you have, generally, and the less interest the guards have in fucking with you.
Mm-hmm.
But at higher level custodies, they'll absolutely go in your cell and thrash your paperwork. They're not allowed to.
Oh,
what the fuck are you going to do about it?
So you could be working on your case, have a bunch of paperwork in your cell, and they'll just come in there and trash the shit out of it and ruin it?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's no it's illegal, but
yeah,
there's no recourse for it, so they do it.
Yeah, it seems like there's absolutely, like, the prisons are just a cesspit. To me, I thought, prisons, I thought the point was you go in there a broken man and you come out reformed and they teach you some stuff. You're not supposed to go in there and basically and get tortured, dude. Like, the whole system needs to be flipped on its head.
Yeah, and the United States is particularly behind the curve on reform, right? And our prison system is a financial mechanism. It is not a corrective mechanism.
Absolutely, it's on the stock market.
An industry that is driven by the fiduciary responsibility of the taxpayers, of the corporations, for the stockholders. Take a look at CoreCivic, because CoreCivic runs private prisons, and they in fact run the prison in Benton County.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the CoreCivic website,
yes,
and you look at their statements, they are boasting about the profits, the dividends to their shareholders, how they landed this new contract. There is nothing on that website that talks about services to inmates.
Right.
It entirely talks about profit to the shareholder. And this actually is a design of the American corporation system. When you are IPO, when you are on the public market, you have a legal responsibility to make a profit for your investors.
Yeah, they treat it like they're in the stock market. Like the price of the stock rises and falls. What?
is absolutely a
The
publicly traded company.
The price of the stock goes up and down depending on the occupancy of the prison.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you want an interesting story, take a look at a story in Colorado that you can look up. The guy's name is Ricky Roybal Smith. That's Roybal-Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Roybal Smith was a very violent person. He had already had violent convictions and served prison time. And then he was, and I remember this incident when it occurred, he was arrested for running through a grocery store in Colorado, chasing people with a machete. And they sentenced him to 4 years. He spent much of his time in jail, pending his case outcome. By the time he got to prison, he was already eligible for halfway house. That was denied. But he also very shortly after that came up eligible for parole.
Okay.
The parole board looks at his record. He has write-ups. He has problems with institutional violence. He has a long history of violent convictions. And he's in prison for chasing people in the grocery store with a machete. He has the word loser in big script letters tattooed across his face. This guy is objectively not ready to be released, and all of the instruments rated him as a poor risk for release.
They released him.
Him.
Oh.
Okay. The same people on the same parole board, just a few weeks after that, they look at my record, low level, nonviolent, word of felony, right? I took every class that I could possibly get. He had none. All of my risk assessment tools were low. His were high. They said I had no treatment needs, no programming needs, no parole plan needs, and then they said significant risk to public safety denied.
Okay, so you were perfect. All your scores were perfect. You're in there because of speech, no violence at all. Everything you did in there was perfect.
Had a single write-up. I helped make programs.
And they said you were a threat to public safety.
Not a threat, a significant risk to public safety. Okay, so Roybal Smith is released, and you can look this up. You can verify this. I know for certain there's been news articles on this. Roybal Smith, they start getting phone calls for emergency services in the Denver area, and they're having to send ambulances and stuff because people are reporting that people are being stabbed, just like random stabbings, and then the guy runs off and he randomly stabs somebody else. So they've got emergency services all fucking over the place. 2 of these people died. One guy, I guess, had somewhere on the order of 90 stab wounds. Don't hold me to those numbers. You guys have access to validate anything. Then they start getting phone calls while they're already stretched thin on this. Some dude's driving his car down the sidewalk on Colfax trying to run people over. So they finally catch up with him. They arrest him. They put him in the Denver jail. And here he is, serial homicide, objectively completely off the rails. Give him a celly.
It just gives you
put it to you, huh?
It just goes to show that speech scares them more than anything.
Yeah, so then they put a guy in his cell with him overnight.
Yeah.
That's been arrested for a DUI.
Oh my
and
God.
He fucking murdered him overnight.
Oh my God, really?
Really?
Oh my goodness.
So if you want to talk about reforms, the parole board is an absolute black box. You cannot get through to them. They have a single phone number that you can leave a message on. Journalists report that it doesn't matter how many messages they leave. They have never received a single phone call back. You cannot inquire as to the decision-making process. You can't review them, and you can't hold them accountable in any way. It's an absolute black box. And the public is upset about it. The Joint Budget Committee was not kind to them when they asked for $59 million more because they can't release people because the public's afraid for their safety. They're like, we gave you tools. We gave you instruments. Why do you keep going against the recommendation of the instruments? Why are you releasing violent offenders and not releasing nonviolent offenders?
Because they act according to their feelings, just like cops. You
or
hurt their
whatever's
feelings.
going on in the background, right?
Yeah.
I know quite a number of guys that have like financial crimes, but because they embarrassed the attorney general, they're doing like 11 years on a 20-year sentence for a financial fraud, for a checkbox on an SBA application.
Oh wow. Is this?
So
Go ahead.
What's the logic here? And it
There isn't
wasn't
any.
Troy Ball Smith. They've had quite a number of people in the last year released to go on to commit murders and other violent crimes within some cases days after they were released. So you hit the nail on the head. The prison is not a place where you go in to get better. The prison is a place where you go in to survive.
Yeah, it's almost like Hunger Games.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I won't classify it as that bad. And again, remember that the farther down in classification you get, the better your living conditions are, and the safer you are, and the more autonomy you have. So, a person with my record, I didn't have issues. I didn't have issues with inmates. I didn't have issues with staff.
That's good. I mean, to me, I would want to go in there and be friends with everybody as best as I can and crack jokes and have fun. And hey, that's just John. He doesn't mean anything. He makes us all laugh.
Well, actually, that's exactly what you'll find if you pull my record, and I know this because my lawyers have pulled my record. Colorado uses a mechanism that they call dynamic security. So they have quotas on interactions that they have with inmates in a day, and they're supposed to go in and they're supposed to make notes.
Mm-hmm.
So ostensibly, this isn't bad because it gives you kind of a almost daily snapshot of your actual behavior, and it combats the bias associated with the only time you get something in your record is when you do something wrong. So
Right.
when my lawyer pulled we call them the crons, but she pulled my crons down in Louisiana, right, to see what my behavior has been here, it was like 40 pages of fine print.
Mm-hmm.
Just cron after cron after cron of jokes. Like Mr. Brandt told me the joke of the day. Sometimes they even put the joke in the cron.
What is a cron? Tell me that again, please.
It's a chronological comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So sometimes the actual joke would be in there, and they'd be like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a tool that I think is appropriate, right? They're trying to combat the negative bias associated with errors. I'll tell you that it's actually pretty easy to behave in here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also really easy to get hemmed up on something stupid. You know what I mean?
Please tell Eric, hearing his voice has lightened my heart today.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Who's that?
That is Bob Memphitis, something like that.
Oh, well, thanks, Bob.
All right.
Is it all right if I kind of first, can I do a little bit of shout out for some of the people that have been supporting me?
Bro, anything you want, go for it.
So first of all, I have had just an absolute tremendous amount of support, and I've had to be really careful on how I react to people. And the communication is not easy, right? It's totally curated and censored. So if I haven't been calling you need to understand that we have to get our phone numbers approved. I require full names. I require addresses. They check for background, and I can only have 25 numbers approved on my list. So nearly none of you got to hear back from me. And I apologize for that. Writing could be, especially in the very beginning, I received just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters. I knew that you guys were there, and I had to be really careful in what I communicated. But there are a handful of people that I have kept really close to my side, particularly Lacey R. Lacey R is always there. Abity Irizarry,
Mm-hmm.
you know him?
Yes, Liberty Freak.
Otto
the Watchdog.
Friends and
Code.
Gladson.
What was the last one?
Yeah. Marita Gladson.
Marita Gladson, go on.
Let me tell you about Marita Gladson.
Go ahead.
Almost with invariable clockwork, Marita sends me full color, a handful of sheets of memes and cartoons and jokes. or she'll send some photocopies out of a Reader's Digest that are particularly intriguing. And so, you know, it gave me all kinds of material. So there's a reason why I had 40 pages of crons of jokes, because Marita kept me well fed. I deliberately have not tried to ask for a lot of resources, because there's people out there that might need support and bond and court support, and the food is not great, but you know, let's be realistic about the environment. It's also not it's not inedible.
Here's a quick question, Eric. Ask Eric if his sentence has rehabilitated him in any way.
The duration of the sentence?
Just the sentence. He says, has the sentence, has it rehabilitated you in any way?
Well, first of all, I've had very little treatment, if you will, because I'm just not fucked up enough to get it. Does that make sense?
I mean, you seem perfectly normal to me, man.
Yeah. So, and you know, I spent the year and a half between my crime and my sentencing. I spent most of that on bond with ankle monitors, and didn't commit new crimes.
Right.
So,
so
you know, when you really look at the factors, no, I think that the sentence was oppressive, and that the public has spent a tremendous amount of money to keep me in custody beyond its worth. I think the point of diminishing returns was approached a long time ago.
Right. What'd you do to pass the time most of the time?
Plan for my future.
What does that entail?
Well, you know that I have my little ranch.
Yeah.
I arranged to make sure that my taxes were paid on it for about 15 years.
That's good.
Because I didn't know how long I'd be in custody.
You do all that in custody. You do all that in custody. You're able to do all that kind of stuff.
When you have people like Abadi Irizarry and Jonna and Silent Citizen and Friends in Code and Otto and Lacey and the list goes on, then absolutely I was able to do that.
And how often are you able to contact these people?
They get angry with me if I go more than 48 hours without calling them.
Also, you have access to phones in there.
Right, yeah.
Is it a pay phone? Is it limited? How often does that work? How's that work?
Yeah, it's limited. A while back, they implemented a tablet process, which we can make phone calls from our tablet now. Hold on.
A couple people are asking about Mike Malloy passing away.
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The announcements can be kind of loud.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, really? Gosh, It's incredibly loud. The phone is filtering that out. Yeah, so, you know, now we can do phone calls in our rooms on our tablets.
Oh, okay.
And you don't have to be at the phone bank in the middle of the room with everybody screaming and yelling and you know, standing in line waiting for phones. So it's a lot more comfortable in that regard. They've got music and movies on the tablet that are outrageously expensive that I refuse to spend money on. And then there's some very, very limited email capabilities and some legal research capabilities, but I don't use the tablet for pretty much anything except there's a spreadsheet on there. I do a lot of math on the spreadsheet.
So as it stands
for the house.
So as it stands right now, we're still at if everything goes well, you could be home by Christmas. Is that right?
I could be home by Christmas if everything goes well, but understand that process isn't in my control. So.
Oh yeah, of course. Just to give people a glimpse.
Yeah. Do you want to know how the sentencing works in Colorado?
Sure.
Okay, so I got a 12-year sentence, and it was a low-level nonviolent felony, so that controls the next calculus. So you take the 12 years, and for my particular crime class, the parole eligibility date starts at 50% of that. So there's adjustments for time you spent in jail. We're not going to get into those. It'll complicate the math.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a 12-year sentence. So 12 years from the day you're sentenced is your mandatory release date. They can't keep you past that date. But at 50%, so that would be 6 years, is your parole eligibility date.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some states, they say, okay, here's your sentence, here's the calculated good time, this is your projected out date, and as long as you don't fuck up, that's your date. Colorado does it a little bit differently. Colorado says, okay, here's your mandatory release date, here's your parole eligibility date, and for each month that you behave, you get to take time off of that.
Wow.
So 10 days a month I earn comes off of that sentence. So both mandatory release date and parole eligibility date walk backwards on the calendar at a rate of 4 months a year.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
So
Yep.
that's how you got your sentence almost cut in half, because you were so good, you didn't get in any trouble, you did every program you could do, right?
Parole eligibility date does not mean the date you're going to leave. That means the earliest date that the parole board can grant you discretionary parole.
Are you still under their thumb, so to speak? They're the ones that get to decide.
Denied me parole. They said I was a significant risk to public safety.
What about this soon future this year? Is that going to be the same thing? If they get to decide whether you go again?
Yeah, there are mechanisms in the process there that will allow a review, an intermediate review that could put me home by Christmas.
Okay.
So if you screw up and you get write-ups, then they can take away good time from you, but they don't take it away. Once it vests, it's yours. But what they could do is they could say you're not eligible to earn good time for 3 months.
So suspension, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so once your parole eligibility date passes, which mine did in May, once your parole eligibility date passes, good time really doesn't mean very much except for your mandatory release date. So if everything went well, a 12-year sentence wouldn't be any longer than 8 years. Does that make sense?
Sure, I guess. Sure.
So they could keep me for another 2.5 years, 3 years.
Oh God, I hope not, bro. Someone in the comments is asking if you passed the bar exam.
No.
No. Okay. All right.
So I'll tell you a little bit about legal work in jail. First of all, I hate it. I'm good at it. I'm very good at it, actually, but I hate it. And one of the reasons why I hate it is because I'm good at it. And, there's a jailhouse lawyer doctrine. If you're in custody, you can assist other residents with their legal work, even though you're not a lawyer. There's a specific carve out for that. But it's a violation of the rules to charge for that work. Does that make sense? You can't barter. You can't run commerce when you're in custody. So I can't say, I'll do that pleading for you as long as your family drops $300 on their Cash App and puts it on my books.
Were you helping a lot of people legally?
No.
Okay.
No, because I hate it. So one of the problems is that most of these legal beagles, if you will, that's their hustle. Even though they're not allowed to charge for it, they do. And sometimes that gets them in trouble because sometimes their work isn't very good. And if you fuck up somebody's case and they get more time, then you're probably going to have your body parts reconfigured. So there's a risk there for one thing. And for another thing, my ethics are actually pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing legal work for or with people, you're taking their lives into your hands. And the law is really hard.
Yes, it is.
And so for me to help people with their work requires me to really have a deep understanding of the exact fact pattern of a case. And that takes a lot of time.
And if something happens, you don't want that on your head, man.
It would be really difficult for me to I would have difficulty sleeping at night if I screwed somebody's life up.
Yeah, I think if you're even if you're a defense attorney, first of all, prosecutors are like the devil. I mean, I haven't seen maybe one in all the years I've been researching stuff. I've seen one that actually is like, even though this and that, I still have to stick to the Constitution. Most of them are criminals. And then a defense attorney.
I've seen very few. They exist, but I've seen very
few. Yeah, it's very few. They're demons, bro. And then the defense attorney, if I was a defense attorney and I knew my guy was innocent and I put up this great defense and he's still with the jail, I'd be like questioning myself and I'd feel so damn guilty.
They smoke so much and drink so much and burn out so much.
I bet.
It's hard. And my empathy is extremely high. And I have a tendency to take on your suffering,
right?
And then I've internalized it, and then that's a problem for me.
And it starts eating away at you. You can't. You have your own. You got your own stuff going.
So I would, and so I absolutely never charge anybody for any legal help.
Oh, that's good.
And it's not just because it's a rule violation. It's because it's because I just can't internally. I can't do it, and so that limits me on what I'm able to do, because I don't want to live your life.
Right.
I have my own life to live. And just because I'm in prison doesn't mean I don't have things that I want to do, right?
Right, sure.
So I don't want to sit behind a desk studying your fucking case all day long.
Exactly.
I sure as fuck don't want to do it for free. And so my general rule, there have been some notable cases where I've invested quite a bit of work into them. But I have to have a personal motivation for it. But as a general rule, I'm not going to do your work for you. I will help you do your work.
Yeah.
But you have to make the investment.
Yeah, I'll look over your shoulder. I'm not going to sit there and be like, spoon feed you.
Exactly. You have to be invested, because
Yeah.
you're not going to run off and play basketball and work out and watch movies while I'm fucking doing your life.
No, hell no.
That's not going to happen.
I get that.
But some things are genuine legal emergencies that the average inmate just simply is incapable of doing correctly. One of those things is grievances. I write absolutely murderous grievances. My grievances are fucking bulletproof.
Okay.
I also will not miss the deadlines.
What's the plans when he gets out? People are asking. He said he has a ranch he wants to move into, and then what, Eric, when you get out?
Oh yeah, I bought a rock in the middle of the desert and I'm moving in under it. That's just the way it's going to be.
Are you going to be doing off-grid stuff? What do you think?
Yeah, primarily. Yeah, I'm in a spot where I can do that. There is commercial power nearby that I could tap into if I think I need to.
Right.
But a lot of that stuff I set up and prepared before I got out, so I have power. I will need septic, and I will need a well.
What?
But that's down the road a little bit. So. Once I have septic, I can live on the property 24 hours a day. Until I have septic, I can only be there 7 days a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about, so is 24 hours in prison is a lot different than 24 hours in the outside, right? Like it's got to take forever, right? Or how do you get used to it? What's it like? Like, you know what I mean? Like to me, when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, the clock has moved so slow.
Yeah, well, I don't sit still very well, so I'm a very busy person.
So are you just reading all day?
A veterans program.
Okay.
We tried to mimic another veterans program at another facility, which is a higher level custody with more population. They had different demographics. We had to make some modifications, but we had a very successful program. We did a lot of community service. We raised a lot of money for local charities, even from within the prison. And we started a lot of what are called peer-led programs.
Mm-hmm.
So I took an advanced peer recovery specialist course for peer mentorship. And we created a program called Constituents of Time, where we actually work with legislators to be a stakeholder in the processes that are going on, and I kept myself very busy in that program. And then we still have a lot of things going on in Delta, so there's not a lot of programs there, but I kept myself busy working on my ranch project, working on the calculations and load calculations for the architectural design of the house. Tried, modeling the house with paper, which was extremely complicated to take solid geometry and turn it into flat plane geometry. So that kept me quite busy. But then my model got destroyed when the toilet flooded next door and ran under the wall and flooded it.
Of course it did.
Which made me really sad. Don't worry, I only lost several hundred hours of work.
Oh, my God. Is there pillows when you sleep?
Is there what?
A pillow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been in an honor house for 3 years.
How do you get used to sleeping on the? Do you get used to sleeping on the uncomfortable bed? How does that work?
No, but I've been in an honor house for 3 years since 2022.
Uh-huh.
And so we get one of the privileges of honor house is we get double mattresses.
Oh, okay.
We could order bedding off of Amazon if we needed to, but the bedding was adequate for me.
Oh, okay.
We could order civilian clothes. We could order certain food things. And I thank you for all of those out there that helped keep me fat, especially Lacey R. and Amity. But my living conditions, again, I told you get down to these lower level custodies and their things. So my living conditions were definitely better than higher level custodies. And I was pretty respected at each place that I've been. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So wherever I've been respected by the inmates. I've been respected by the staff.
That's great.
And, I've held job positions that are in trust. I've held positions on, we have little, I guess I'll call them like a board. It's called leadership teams. And they're challenging because, when you're on the Honor House Committee, you're not dealing with things when they're going well. You're dealing with guys when they screw up. You're supposed to manage it at our level. They don't get a write-up if it's minor, but they might have to do chore hours when they're never happy about it. So it kind of sucks, but I'm trusted for my candor, right? Because I'm pretty liberal, but I'm absolutely resolute on matters of character and integrity. And you're not going to bullshit me. I will absolutely call you out on the carpet on your bullshit.
We know that. Yeah.
So, but I'm pretty good at toning guys down too. Like we had one guy on the committee with us. He purported to be an activist, he liked to do activism, and he was pretty energetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have this incident with this one guy, and so this other guy, he's like calling everybody rats, right? The fucking committee, they're just a bunch of rats. I mean, this guy is, also street, right? So he's like, motherfucker, I'm gonna fuck him up. You don't call me a fucking rat, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, now hold on. You told me that you're an activist and I'm an activist too, right? And he's like, yes. I said, so when you're out there on the street and you're screaming at the police and you're screaming at public officials and you're calling them names, do you agree with me that you expect them to just fucking take it? And he goes, yeah, you're goddamn right, they have to take it. And I said, so you agree that because they stuck their neck out and made themselves into a public figure, that opens them to ridicule, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's nice or not nice. Yeah. I said, well, you put your hat in the ring. You volunteered for this committee. You became a public figure.
Okay.
And you have to just fucking take it. Let it roll off.
It's words. That's the whole point of this whole discussion.
So, you have to realize that if you expect them to take it, then when you're in that position, you've got to fucking take it. It's just words. Let him complain. He's going to complain.
It's literally noise.
Yeah.
Something the judge couldn't figure out either. Tell me,
right.
What's the best food? What was the best food you've had in jail? And what was it? Like, what was do you have a favorite? Is there a regiment? Do you eat the same stuff every day? Is there a menu?
There's a menu.
How's that work?
It rotates every 4 weeks. And different facilities implement that menu in slightly different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower you go in custody, the better the quality of the food is.
Okay.
But listen, I've been all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how shitty the meal is, I might look at it and be like, oh. But my thought now, this is what I tell myself if the menu item is something that I don't like, or if the cook fucks it up, then everybody knows, right? And it happens. When I was working in the bakery, I would put a lot of effort into it, and I would tell people, if you get a shitty product out of my bakery, it's not because I didn't care, it's because I made a mistake.
Sure.
Right, and I rarely made mistakes. Because Lacey sent me books on baking and I studied them. But
what was your favorite meal there?
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite meal.
Was there something? There wasn't something you looked forward to?
Yeah, I really liked it. I really like the chocolate cake if you do it right.
Okay, chocolate cake.
Of course I do. Yeah,
chocolate cake. Okay.
Of course I like chocolate cake.
What kind of dinners did they serve?
The dinners are basic. There's no fried foods.
Okay.
So if it's baked, so baked French fries, which are really easy to fuck up. Baked chicken, which is really easy to turn into jerky. Lots of bread, which is not healthy.
Right.
We get chicken 2 or 3 times a week, and it's the dark meat part, the thigh and the leg.
Was anybody allowed to change the menu according to their religion or anything like that?
Yeah, the religious people fucked up the menu for all of us. That's why we can't have pork products anymore.
Oh, you can't have pork at all?
They don't serve it, no.
What about, let's say somebody was vegan? They would laugh at that person, right?
No, they would get a special diet, and
you're kidding.
When you go through the line, they get their special vegan diet, or their Messianic diet, or their Jewish diet, or their halal diet.
They serve kosher. They do kosher in jail.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow,
it's really dedicated because the meal is not good, right? And then if you grab a regular tray and you're on a special diet, you can get right up for that. They'll fucking drop your ass from the thing because they're made special, right?
Yeah.
There's cost in there. If you are on a halal diet and you order pork rinds on the commissary, you're fucked.
Yeah, you contradicted yourself.
Absolutely. You order a non-kosher item and you're on a kosher diet, even ordering it on the commissary is enough to get a write-up.
What if you're a carnivore? You're on a carnivore diet. They're gonna feed you a bunch of expensive meat and eggs.
Fucking luck.
Huh?
Good fucking luck.
So it's gotta be religion based, huh?
It has to be religion based.
Well, for instance, I'm a type 2 diabetic, and the carnivore diet got me off every medication.
Yep. Abity is on that too. Same thing. Same story.
So what would the jail say to that? Go F yourself. Your sugar's gonna go up, and you can start taking metformin.
And pick the carbohydrates out.
So just eat basically very light and only protein. Okay, I got it.
Right. Yeah. So they also they use menu items that have a high degree of contention with people. They have a substitute. So, for example, I absolutely cannot eat the tuna. It's so bad. I like tuna. That's not tuna. I think it's bycatch. It's awful. So on some tuna days, the sub will be boiled eggs. On some tuna days, the sub will be lentils.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have a vegetarian substitute for a meat entree. So you don't have to take the hamburger. You can get the bean patty.
Oh, okay. All right.
So when you come up in the line and you want a sub, you just say sub, and then instead of giving you the hamburger tray, they'll throw a bean patty on it. So there's, all right, they're serving dinner, John.
All right. You got to go?
It's dinner time, yep.
Eric, I love you, bro. Thank you so effing much.
We could probably go on forever, I know, but that's all I've got time for today.
Eric, thank you, bro. I can't wait to hear from you again. Godspeed. May everything go right, man. And I'm sorry this all happened to you. Bright future ahead.
Hey, the world is run by those who show up, and I showed up. I had my moment on the stage, and I survived long enough to maybe retire. So,
my man, I can't wait to meet you someday, and we'll find some aliens on your ranch, and we'll make stories up, and we'll lie about everything.
Outstanding. Yeah.
All right, sir.
All right, bye, man.
What's for dinner?
I don't know yet.
All right, see you.
I gotta go down there to find out.
Tell him you want to be called spaghetti.
All right.
All right, later.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye.
Eric, mother effing Brandt, people. Eric Brandt, everybody. Eric Brandt. Got like the chills, man. He's an OG, man. One of the best. He pushed the First Amendment to its limit, and he made them expose themselves for the tyrants they are. The judge who put him in jail for 12 years, hopefully when he finally goes and he gets to the gates or wherever the hell you go when you pass away, and someone says, "Hey, judge, you swore to protect that guy's rights. And what did you do instead? You locked him in a cage and put his life in danger for years on end because you couldn't handle free speech that you swore to preserve, protect, and defend." Yeah. Crazy, man. Crazy. Should I let this video play for start this video over and let it play for the rest of this live stream? Or should I just cut it off? I think I'm going to let it play, man. Start it over, unmute it, set a timer. Let's see, this is an hour and 54 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer for an hour. I'm going to set, you guys, I'm going to unmute this. I'm going to slow it down.
Right to a public sentencing.
I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to go eat some dinner myself, spend some time with the wife, and I'm just going to let this play. If you guys want to watch a sentencing hearing, let me slow it down. Playback speed 1, and then closed captions, I guess. I mean, it's all right. Make them big like this. That's fine. Everyone can read it. And then I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to come back and shut this off in a couple hours. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Eric, man. And also go watch American Cop Watcher, the documentary about Eric Brandt. OG to the hilt, man. All right. See you guys later. Enjoy this sentencing hearing from who is this? Eric Brandt, Joe Black. Joe Black, are you the guy that helped me with the video and everything? The guy from the UK? The guy I just sent a ring to? Did you get it, by the way? All right. Here we go, guys. Enjoy. See you. Oh, that was.
We're doing this to accommodate Mr. Brandt's right.
Joe Black. What? Bro. What is that crap, bro? Why would you put that in the video, bro? You hurt my feelings, dude. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of this. Hopefully there isn't any more psychopathic stuff. And I'll see you in a couple hours and shut this off. Luck Foyers, bro. What's up? Good to see you. Rewind this. It's good.
To a public sentencing. And because our courtroom's so small, we're accommodating that through having the sentencing broadcast. So you are all welcome to listen in. You are not welcome to participate unless you're one of the people that Mr. Brandt has indicated he wants to have speak on his behalf. The second thing is everybody, I have to say, was quite well behaved during the when I took Mr. Brandt's plea, with one exception, which is that everybody was chatting with each other over the WebEx. You can't do that. This isn't a forum for you all to talk to each other. If my courtroom was bigger, you'd all be in here and you couldn't yell at each other across the room. So the same rules apply. No chatting like that last one. And when we see that, those people are going to be removed from the WebEx. If this gets too bad, we're going to turn it off entirely. Now for the rules of the people in the courtroom, I've told the sheriffs to remove anybody who makes a sound during this sentencing, other than those people, again, who are labeled as witnesses. Not exactly witnesses, people who want to speak on behalf of the prosecution, the victims, or who want to speak on Mr. Brandt's behalf. Anyone else is not only going to be removed, you're going to be kept in a holding cell until I'm done with my docket today, and I'm going to hold you in direct contempt, which means you'll do, I'm thinking about 90 days in the Denver County Jail. Again, I'm sorry I have to say this. I hope I didn't have to. And probably I didn't have to, because everybody was quite well behaved during the guilty plea, except for these chats that were going back and forth. So those are the rules. Oh, one other thing about folks in the courtroom. No cameras, no videos, no tape recorders. The sheriffs have also been instructed that if they see any of that, you will also be held in direct contempt by me and also put in a holding cell till the end of the day when I will sentence you. And by the way, we have a big docket, so the end of the day is probably not going to be till 5:30 or so. All right, those are the rules. I've already called the case, and is this Mr. Brandt?
It is, Your Honor. I apologize. We were just checking in before court. Cassandra McKenzie and Yona Porat, we are alternate defense counsel, and this is Mr. Brandt, who is out of custody.
Great, thank you. We're flying without a PSI. A couple preliminary things. I did look at the 2019 Jeffco PSI and at the Adams County PSI. I can't remember which one of those one of you, I guess it was the people probably submitted, but I have read both of those. And I will proceed like I always do in every sentencing, which is hear first from defense counsel, but actually before them, if defendant has any people he wants to speak on his behalf, since there are three, are all three of the named victims going to address me?
Your Honor, Judge Andre Rudolph is going to address by the name of Emily Betts, who's the judicial assistant and clerk that will address the court by WebEx. And then I believe Judge Crespin will also address the court by WebEx.
But not the other judge?
Correct.
So we have three victims that are going to address me?
That's correct, Your Honor.
So I am happy to hear from at least three folks if they want to speak on behalf of Mr. Brandt, excluding Mr. Brandt. It's not up to you. We've now gotten volunteers by chat. Again, maybe you're not hearing me. No chatting on WebEx or you'll be removed and locked out. It's not up to you to volunteer to speak on Mr. Brandt's behalf. It's up to Mr. Brandt to decide who he wants to testify. So let's start with those folks. Does Mr. Brandt have anybody who wants to speak on his behalf? Either in person or remotely?
So I have, as my first speaking witness, Ms. Anita Springsteen, and I am not sure she is present in person. Okay. And then, Your Honor, after our witnesses, just a request of the court, is it possible for the defense to go second?
I can't hear a thing you're saying.
I'm sorry. Is it possible for the defense to request to go second after the witnesses speak?
It's possible to request, but that's not what we're going to do.
Understood.
Okay, who's the first person that wants to speak on behalf of Mr. Brandt?
Her name is Anita Springsteen, and she will come to the podium.
All right. Good afternoon, ma'am. If you would please start by telling us your name.
Yes, Your Honor. Should I keep this on or?
It's okay with me, but why don't you keep it on, and then if we're having trouble hearing you, you can lower it.
Okay.
Start with your name, if you
would. My concern. My name is Anita Springsteen, Your Honor.
What would you like to tell me?
And so I want to introduce myself. I'm an attorney and city councilor in Lakewood. Obviously, I'm not here in an official capacity, but my experiences as an elected official do shape my views.
You know Mr. Brandt?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Recently, a former city councilor who doesn't like me very much sent an email to all of council, which was surely forwarded to many constituents. It said, I should, quote, be punished in every way possible. Given the nature of her politics, her known racism, her anger towards me, and the fact that this was shortly after the riots in the Capitol, I took it to be a threat to my safety. A Jeffco judge would not give me a protection order on this, as she did not find the threat to be imminent. And a Jeffco DA found no criminal wrongdoing after the former counselor denied any ill intent. Nobody in the system felt this former city councilor's words rose to the level that she should be punished.
So I don't want to interrupt, ma'am, but we're not here to talk politics. I'm not interested in your situation. I want to hear what you have to say about Mr. Brandt. Okay. If you don't have anything to say about him, we'll move on.
Okay. What I wanted to get to is that Mr. Brandt is a veteran who gave 8 years of his life in the military and took an oath to defend the Constitution. He's become a crusader for justice in recent years, driven by his disgust with the injustices he sees all around him. Many people turn to him for advice, solace, protection. He's like a father to many of the most oppressed members of our society, and he wants to help each and every one of them. In January of 2020, we went through a life-changing experience in that, and again, this is a personal experience, but it leads directly into how I know Mr. Brandt. My boyfriend, Jeremiah Axtell, who was restrained and cooperative, was arrested and forcibly injected with ketamine in front of me, the same way Elijah McClain was given ketamine and died. My boyfriend also died and had to be revived. And that experience completely changed my life and goals to want to go towards civil rights. So Elijah McClain has become a symbol of excessive use of force and racist policing in our country. In the months following this police assault on Jeremiah, I was confused about how to address it and frankly terrified, because it became apparent that my own city was going to come after me. And that was when I first met Mr. Brandt. He helped us go through the medical records and figure out what had happened to Jeremiah. He put us in touch with multiple people who became part of a team of folks that's determined to end this barbaric use of ketamine in the state of Colorado. But perhaps most importantly, he put the story originally out on YouTube and made it public. And for the first time after that, did I feel any sense that we were safer from harm. And for those things, I'm grateful to him. I don't endorse everything Mr. Brandt says. I know that he pushes the limits, but I ask you to consider his state of mind and his character. I've never known him to be anything but gentle. I believe that he has been fighting a war for the Constitution and for justice. And as with any veteran, he has PTSD, he has flashbacks, he's in recovery from this battle. And this is where he might at times sound angry. But his frustrations, I believe, actually stem from his compassion for people who have been mistreated or wronged by the justice system. And being on that battlefield over the years, I believe has made him feel helpless to stop it, which has led to certain outbursts. But they are words. And one of the most emotional moments I've seen Mr. Brandt have is when a blind man in another state was mobbed because of his protesting. Mr. Brandt couldn't stand the lack of humanity toward that disabled man. And really, I think that's what drives him. I think it's a wish for humanity. And, you know, this nation has recently had a reckoning about the need for justice reform at all levels. It's no longer a question of whether there's a problem, but how we go about fixing it. Many have just joined in that battle over the last year, and their frustrations are not questioned. Mr. Brandt has been embroiled in this for years. He's tired and war-ridden. He's tattered and torn, and he's ready to pass the baton to others who have the energy for this movement, I believe. I hope this court will allow Mr. Brandt to move on with his life and contemplate how to help people in more cerebral and productive ways. And he has people around him who are trying to help make that possible. I believe locking him away in prison will help no one, but he may just be the reason many lives are saved if he's permitted to help in new ways. I point to the case in conclusion of Hunter Barr, who's a 24-year-old kid that died from forcible injection with ketamine in Colorado Springs in September. He should not have died, that kid. And many of us were working very, very hard for many months to prevent that death over the past year. One of those people is Eric Brandt. And I would just implore you to let him help us stop the next Hunter Barr and Elijah McClain. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Springsteen.
Your Honor, the defense would next call Jeremiah Axtell.
Good afternoon, sir.
If you'd start with your name, please, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Jeremiah Axel.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to drop your mask if you wouldn't mind. And oh, by the way, I should have asked everyone. I'm happy to wear one if people want me to wear one. I have shots and everything, and I'm really far away, but I'll wear one if you want me to. Anybody want me to?
We don't have
All you
one.
have to do is raise your hand. Okay. What would you like to tell me, Mr. Asfeld?
It's Axel, sir. Everything you said plus two, but it's a different point of view from my perspective. I have a checkered past, and I have instincts that don't match most people's until I met this guy, and my world changed. I guess the best thing I could say right now is it would be a shame to take him off of the streets. Thank you. I love you, man.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, Your Honor, on WebEx, we have Dr. Glenn Mears, who is Mr. Brandt's treating therapist.
All right, doctor, if you'll start and we'll see which one you are, and then we'll unmute you.
Your Honor, my name is Glenn Mears. I am a licensed clinical social worker. Actually, I am a mental health therapist. I have 20 years experience in treating dual diagnosis and substance abuse. I am a former director of the crisis team for Gulf Bend Mental Health Mental Retardation in Victoria, Texas. And my career has been dealing primarily with individuals who are in distress and seeing them in emergency rooms, jails, prisons, etc., for crisis situations. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So in my treatment with individuals, I use the National Crisis Prevention Institute's model for de-escalation of behavior. And what that stipulates is if I'm anxious, that means I have an increase or a decrease in normal activity. When that happens, if I don't put a stop sign there, I go to the next level. And that is becoming defensive. That's when I say or I do things that are out of control. And often I do not remember sometimes what I say or do. If I do not put a stop sign there, I act out. When I act out, other people usually take control. Often that means going to the emergency room, being evaluated as whether or not someone's a danger to themselves or others. And if they are not, they are discharged into the community. The most important thing is when someone regains control, according to this model, is respect and dignity should be coming back to that person. We have to understand individuals with mental illness, dual diagnosis, are not able to turn on and off like a light switch their moods. I also use the Maslow model for motivation to change. It says that if your basic needs, food, clothing, water, and shelter is not met, you can't move to the next level of feeling safe, having a place to live and a secure environment. If that is not met, you cannot have socialization. You do not have friends. You do not have family. You cannot connect to others. And oftentimes when people have mental illness, that is the first thing that goes, their support systems. The next step is self-esteem. After all of those things are met, I'm actually able to feel good about myself and respect myself and honor myself. If that is met, then I go into self-actualization. I'm going to quote Maslow. A music man must make music. An artist must paint. A poet must write if they want to be happy. What a person can be, they must be. This is self-actualization. Finally, mastering who I am, end quote. The impact with those with mental illness is dramatic. Eric has what we call dual diagnosis, mental health, and a prior history of substance abuse. When substance abuse is prevalent, you cannot treat the mental illness. However, we have a system that's unjust, I feel, as a clinician, having gone to the emergency room to try to get people committed that have alcohol or substance abuse is almost impossible. But without resolving alcohol and substance abuse, you cannot treat the mental health issues. Eric, at the time that he is being charged, had very traumatic life experiences. He was homeless. He triggered the flight mode. The flight mode is when you are out of control. So if I'm anxious and I don't get support, I'm defensive and I don't get support, the natural response of the person is acting out. Eric felt that he needed to act out during these incidents. The other thing that we look at when we're committing people for mental institutions or when someone's destable is what is their plan? What is their intent? What is the lethality of that? And is it possible for that individual to carry that out? If those 4 factors are in place, I, as a therapist, clinician, can file an M1 on that individual and put them in the hospital. When individuals are arrested, they normally go to the emergency room to be evaluated versus a jail. They're normally not charged with criminal behavior. They're placed under custody of a mental health, and they have a mental health evaluation done to determine if they are a danger to themselves or others. They're not thrown in jail. Normally, people who make threats do not carry those threats out. It appears that Eric, as many who have been treated on this in the past, had a break from reality. Again, the M1 criteria is a person is actively a danger to himself or others. Currently, Eric is not in distress. He has resolved some conflicts in his life, and he's moving toward more self-actualization. When Eric is arrested, he has gone through multiple stressors and legal issues. He's been arrested, incarcerated, posted bond, has been drugged through court day after day after day, has given up all his fight for perceived justice. His track record for winning cases is quite impressive. He has not given up battles in the legal system. He was offered and accepted treatment when he was incarcerated. He completed the program with significant progress while incarcerated. He identified some basic needs. He suffered from homelessness. He suffered from substance abuse. He's overcome these issues, and this is significant for his rehabilitation. The sole purpose of incarceration is to rehabilitate, not punish. Eric is moving forward with his life, wanting to resolve conflict of the past. Incarceration and solitary confinement secondary to the COVID virus is deplorable. Eric's mental health treatment is active. He wants to prevent further altercations with his perceived enemies, and he has moved to the country to avoid interactions with those he perceives as tyrants. Your Honor, I would encourage and recommend that Eric be given probation and be able to continue his rehabilitation in the community versus solitary confinement for having a period in his life where he was mentally unstable. Your Honor,
thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, defense counsel.
Your Honor, is it okay if I stay seated just so I'm near the
Please,
microphone?
if you get really close to the mic like this.
So I wanted to let the court know that he has 85 days of pre-sentence confinement credit. Eric is very much a changed man.
Let's use last names, counsel.
Mr. Brandt, I will try to remember that, is very much a changed man from the man whose actions form the basis of the counts in this case, which all happened, I think the court can see, fairly close in time. He has been on probation now in Adams County for several months, since January 8th. In that time period, not quite 4 months, he has gone from maximum to minimum supervision on their caseload. He is completely compliant. He has moved many hours outside of the Denver metro area. He spends his time primarily right now building a teepee that he's planning to live in. He's been working on himself. He reminded me just a few moments ago, this started when he was in custody. He was in custody in Jefferson County at the beginning of 2020. He asked himself to go to the behavioral health unit. After he was released from custody, he began working with Glenn Mears, who the court just heard from. He's been working on his anger, on his mental health. He has been making progress in therapy. And he frankly understands now that there are different ways to participate in the system, to object to perceived abuses that are not only more appropriate, they are also more effective. Mr. Brandt turns 50 this year, so it's a big year for him. He has been sober for just about 2 years. He is very proud of that fact, what it means for him, what it has changed for him. I think he will likely talk to the court about that. He is someone who is uniquely and very much so interested in taking advantage of any programs or opportunities available on probation. In fact, I can tell the court that he applied for and was accepted into the Jefferson County Veterans Treatment Court. That was our preferred sentence, but the judge there did not deem that an appropriate sentence. But I bring that up to let the court know the intensive amount of probation Mr. Brandt is willing to commit to at this time. He wanted to do high intensity supervision. I think that the court can see a lot of dismissals and acquittals in the criminal history. I counted about 35. And Mr. Brandt has used this as a mechanism to advocate in a certain way. But over the course of this last year, he started thinking, what if I went to law school? What if I tried different avenues to pursue the things I am interested in? And frankly, that's part of why we were so hopeful for Veterans Court, because we thought that might provide an avenue. He's business savvy. He is adept at navigating sort of the white collar world in a way that I think he lost his way for a little while. He got lost in terms of how he was conveying and expressing his message. I know he would want me to extend an apology to any victims that are here present on WebEx or in person.
I'm sorry to interrupt, counsel, but we've just been advised that this is being broadcast on YouTube. And all I can tell you is that's not acceptable to me. And this is a strange world we're living in. If it were up to me, of course, we wouldn't be on WebEx either. These are small courtrooms. We'd be crammed with as many people as could be filled in, and the rest wouldn't hear what's going on. And that would be fine with me. But we can't cram people in here because of what our bureaucrats have told us about spacing. And so I have reluctantly agreed, in order to preserve Mr. Brandt's right to a public proceeding, to put this on WebEx. The people on WebEx are not permitted to videotape, are not permitted to live stream on YouTube, are not permitted to do any of those things. And if I wasn't clear about that, I apologize. If this YouTube keeps going on, we will go dark on WebEx. And I'll give you 5 minutes to turn that off. Go ahead, counsel.
So Mr. Brandt was very interested in Veterans Treatment Court. I know that Ms. Porat has some things prepared to speak to this court briefly about how Mr. Brandt does on probation from the perspective of his previous supervising officer, who is Mr. Aaron Moon. He was supervising an Adams County case, but he's based in Jefferson County, confusingly. And she has some more thoughts also from his case in Adams County, just briefly.
Okay, counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Mr. Brandt was sentenced in January in Adams County, and the district attorney on that case had been working with Mr. Brandt for 4 years and is very familiar with his circumstances. And so I thought that she was very well spoken at that sentencing, and there's a couple things, some passages I wanted to read for the court from what she said. With respect to other things that I think the court should consider, the court is aware that Mr. Brandt has been on a deferred judgment and sentenced with the diversion program in Jefferson County. His client manager is a man named Aaron Moon. Mr. Brandt, the district attorney, Ms. Easton, reached out to Mr. Moon and asked, is Mr. Brandt non-compliant? Is he disruptive? Does he yell? Does he throw things? And Mr. Moon said, none of those things. And our time supervising him, he has been polite, he has been appropriate. Not only has he engaged in treatment as we've requested, but he actually signed himself up for more treatment because he was excited about those opportunities. Separately, Mr. Moon said that Mr. Brandt was cooperative and had a good attitude, tried all the programming, that he completed all his UAs, that he did everything that Mr. Moon asked him to do, and anything that he did do, he was upfront and honest. When Ms. Easton talked to Mr. Moon about what is left, what else can we do, Mr. Moon's suggestion was mental health. Mr. Brandt, she went on to say, Mr. Brandt presents as a veteran. I think that's significant. He is a man who served his country. When he returned to, I guess, civilian life, he was plagued by homelessness. Whether it's a chicken and egg situation, I don't know what begets what. We have a pattern of homelessness, drug abuse, and mental health issues, and then a history of trauma for Mr. Brandt in terms of his prior relationships. More than that, Mr. Brandt sits before the court, a man who is a minority in the sense that he is a homosexual man, and I bring that up because I think that these personal characteristics go to the heart of the case. We have a man who had some mental health issues, a man who doesn't think and feel like everyone else, a man who committed himself to the armed service for the benefit of other citizens. He came back and he experienced hardship. But when you're voiceless and unseen, you feel different and you're suffering from mental health issues, and you've given to your country and received no acknowledgement or return investment, that can be difficult. My hope is that Mr. Brandt sees that you don't have to respond to abuse of power with more power. So that is why I'm requesting a community-based sentence with an emphasis on mental health. And the court went on to say, I don't think that prison accomplishes much of anything other than removing you from the public so you can't harm people for that period of time, punishing you, and maybe sending a deterrent message. Those are important, but it seldom rehabilitates an individual. And there are better ways to do that. And you seem to be committed to that. You're getting counseling, and you're moving yourself to more remote locations so that you don't get tied up with the same individuals or the same old thing. I think that's a good thing. This is all in the Front Range where all these cases are. And Ms. Easton had asked the court to consider that all of these 3 cases were pending at that time, so they were considered in the sentence. And again, that's why we're here on this case. So having considered those factors, I do think an appropriate sentence is a probation sentence. I do think that it should be fairly lengthy, 4 years. And Ms. Easton closed with, that after Mr. Brandt came back from the services and he wasn't feeling heard, that she thinks that he struggled with power in a way that a lot of people struggle with power. She said DAs struggle with it. There's a sort of group sense. Anyone who receives any measure of power struggles with that. I think that this case was a reflection of that. I think this case is a reflection of a man who was unseen, who became angry, who fought back, who was a warrior for social justice, but let it go to his head. There's an argument, certainly. I'm not saying that there's not. And sentencing is in the court's purview. You can certainly incarcerate him. But the thing that I kind of go back to, and I think over the last few days in particular, I've gone back to, is a reflection on the Reconstruction era in American history. We don't have to, nor should we gouge. We don't have to hobble a man to find justice here. We don't have to do that. We don't have to use the prison system in an answer to this conduct. The conduct is criminal. The conduct is human. The conduct can be corrected because we've identified at least an option for solving it. So from my personal perspective, I don't think a prison sentence is necessary. I don't think it's warranted. I don't think that we need to deepen distrust and hate. This country is more tribalistic than anything I've ever seen it. It's incredibly disappointed. And unless people stand up and walk towards the middle and say, I see you, I don't need to cancel you, I don't need to throw away the keys and throw you in prison, I don't need to defund these people, I recognize there are good people. Unless we all get somewhere where we can recognize the humanity in each other, I don't know how we move forward. So that is my reason for not requesting a prison sentence in this case. And the last thing I wanted to say to this court is that last week I saw Mr. Brandt. I casually asked if he would be going to the protest that was taking place last weekend, and he said, no way, absolutely not. And I said, why not? Isn't that your thing? He said, I'm done doing that stuff. Not because protesting is bad, but because I'm not going to put myself in situations any longer where I can get into trouble. I have my rock out in the country, and I intend to stay out of trouble. And so we do ask this court for a probationary sentence.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just had a few more things to say. I think the court can see that Mr. Brandt witnessed some pretty severe abuse between his parents in his childhood. I would ask the court to take that into consideration in terms of how we got to where we are today, as well as sort of the responsibility he had to raise himself, frankly, even after his family sort of dramatically escaped his father. The court's heard about his military service. I also just wanted to share with the court, you know, Mr. Brandt has an amazing knack for winning people over. He is fiercely, fiercely loyal, and I think that at times, as in these cases, that has certainly led him to unhelpful and problematic choices, and he knows that. But he wins people over, and I think he can prove to this court that he can comply on probation. As an officer of this court, I believe Eric can be managed on probation. He does not need to go into incarceration. The community is safe. He's doing well. And as the court can remember from our plea colloquy, he's the one driving this today. He wanted to come in. He wanted to take responsibility. He wanted to apologize to his victims. I know that was important to him. And he is asking for your mercy and a chance to prove he can do well on probation. So that's our hope of this court.
Thank you, counsel. All right, my staff informs me this is still being broadcast over YouTube on something called, I've never heard of, the Eric Brandt Show. We are going dark now.
That's my channel, and I am not broadcasting on
Right, I know you're not. You're obviously you're here. We are going dark on the web now.
I assure you, I'm not broadcasting.
No, I know you're not. You're standing there. Yes, sir. Did you want to say something?
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have reached out to that broadcaster and they have killed the feed. I have confirmed it in the hallway.
Still going.
Confirmed it's still going.
Are you behind a few minutes?
It could be delayed.
We'll give it a few minutes before we go dark.
We did.
Thank you so much, sir. All right.
I don't know how someone can be broadcasting on
The
my
people. Do the people have folks that want to speak to me?
We do, Your Honor, and my concern is that two of those witnesses are on WebEx. So if we could have those hear from them first in case you have to go dark, and then we could hear from Judge Rudolph.
Yes.
So I believe that the first witness that wants to speak is Emily Betts, who should be present on WebEx and can address Judge Hoffman.
All right, Ms. Beck, can you hear us?
Yes, it's Emily Betts.
What would you like to tell me, Ms. Beck?
Well, I appreciate your time in hearing me speak this afternoon, Your Honor. I just want to start out by stating that I honestly believe that I became a victim that day for one simple reason, that Judge Crespin and I chose not to recognize Mr. Brandt's attempts to bully us in the courtroom. Mr. Brandt expects to be treated differently when he enters a courtroom. He was treated no different than anyone else appearing in Judge Crespin's courtroom that day. What I was faced with that day is something I will never forget. And it serves as a reminder that on any given day, our lives could be in danger. I received a death threat over doing my job that day. Mr. Brandt believed that Judge Crespin and I both deserved to be shot in the head. The fact that Mr. Brandt responds to authority with death threats is something that speaks volumes as to the kind of person he is. It is no secret that he presents himself in a very confrontational manner anytime he sees an opportunity. It was clear he was there that day to derail the jury trial. When Judge Crespin did not tolerate his bullying, he turned to violence and death threats. I want Mr. Brandt to know that the impact of a death threat has on someone is not a joke. And your words do have consequences. Calling for the shooting of multiple judges via YouTube, hoping someone acts on this call for action, is very scary. I have a family that I go home to every day when I leave work. I am a person, not just a judicial assistant. Having to call my husband and father to let them know that my life was in danger is a phone call no one should have to make. I am thankful that this was taken seriously and charges were actually filed. I cannot thank the DA and the Adams County Sheriffs enough for handling this case and supporting Judge Crespin and I when we needed them the most. And, Your Honor, I believe a DOC sentence is appropriate in this case, and I think you will hear plenty of other statements that will support that as well. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Next.
Your Honor, I believe that former Judge Crespin is also on WebEx and would like to address the court.
Judge Crespin, can you hear us? Judge Crespin, I think you may have to unmute. Let me remind people who may have joined us lately, you are not permitted to use the chat system on this WebEx broadcast. And that's because if you were all jammed here in the courtroom like you should be, you wouldn't be permitted to yell across the room. It's disruptive and it's going to stop, or we're going to remove this WebEx. This is a sentencing hearing, not a political rally.
Your Honor, perhaps we can move on to Judge Andre Rudolph and see if we can't then get Judge Crespin.
All right. Judge Rudolph.
Good afternoon, Judge Hoffman. My printer wouldn't work, so I decided to send it because it just wouldn't work, so I could get it out.
Would you be kind enough to lower your mask? I'm having some trouble hearing you,
I'm fully vaccinated. I can take it off, Judge.
That's great.
Appreciate it. So, being here today is actually kind of odd, weird, but
52 a.m. Judge Rudolph, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're the biggest fucking piece of shit that courthouse has ever seen. You better fucking resign before your next election. I'm going to drag your shit through the mud. How dare you commit acts of violence demands for flipping you off? I'm going to fucking flip you off every fucking time I... Go fuck yourself. You brought great shit upon the judiciary. You're a fucking piece of shit. There's nothing on this planet that could make you work anything. Go fuck yourself.
Mr. Brandt. Mr. Brandt has been terrorizing Denver County Court for a while. I thought I was going to be different when I had his case. I thought because I understood perhaps what Mr. Brandt was going through, protesting, being homeless. Because what I know is that I wouldn't be in my position if it wasn't for people protesting out of the South and fighting for rights. So when I first met Mr. Brandt, though, people wanted to tell me about him. I would ask them not to, because I wanted to be fair. I wanted to be impartial in terms of his cases. And it was all fine when he got his way. When he got in an argument with the city attorney, when I first had his case, they didn't want to give him the discovery, even though he was serving his sentence, and claimed that he was indigent. City attorney's office wanted to fight, or at least that particular city attorney. I said it was wrong. Give him his discovery. He is indigent. He's not earning income. He's in jail. Give him his discovery. It was all fine and dandy. Apparently one of his folks, YouTubers, followers, he sends me which I didn't find, but a recusal request. Get off my effing case, you effing liar, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have grounds to get off his case. Spoke to the presiding judge, and I said, there's no legal reason. And she said, just get off. Trust me. I said, but it's about the law. It's about being fair. It's about what I should do within the law, because that's my oath. It's the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Colorado. And I figured I could be different than all of the other judges because I felt like I had a sense of what he was fighting about. That wasn't the case. So I got off of his one case, I think it was one in front of me. Didn't have much interaction. Then all of a sudden, when one of the other folks does something contemptuous in court, he decides that I guess it's time to rally. The first time in terms of this was him out in Lakewood. It's interesting that there's a person here from Lakewood that spoke. He's pounding on their door, posting a video on YouTube and ridiculing them. But he finds time for dear old Judge Rudolph, who he says should go fuck himself, do us all a favor, whoever the us is, kill myself. Now, this is not a political statement because I know you don't want that, Judge, and I'm not going to give you one. But as a black man, born and raised in Cheyenne, Wyoming, who has been called the N-word and coon and all sorts of other derogatory things, in Cheyenne, in Laramie, where I went to University of Wyoming, in Omaha, where I went to law school, and even here in Denver, to have someone on a video say, wouldn't I look good hanging from a tree? That's what he said in a video posted on YouTube about me. I've never heard those words in my life. Even my first case as a public defender here that I ever took to jury trial in front of Judge Marcucci, gentleman's name was Michael Cullen. Case is long gone. Who used to call me his coon lawyer. I represented him. So I told him it was about the law. It wasn't about him being a supremacist, it's about the law. That's what he used to say every time I came out. So I heard that. It was investigated. District Attorney's Office, so there's nothing here. The speech. It's not enough. Even though it might be hate speech, and yes, we get it, because that envisions those things that black folks in the South, that's what would happen. That's what it was. My grandmother raised me up in Cheyenne, Wyoming. She fled from the South because of that. She grew up picking cotton. So I know those images. I know what it's like. I've seen those images. And I thought, how dare you? I don't even have your cases. She asked me to recuse, which I didn't want to, but I did. And then ultimately, we get to more stuff. There were other calls that were made, Judge Hoffman. Then we have more stuff where he sends to his friends. It's taking a little bit, Judge, to just load up, but.
You ready? Hi, this is Judge Rudolph's courtroom, right? That's correct. Yeah, I wanted to share my thoughts and prayers for Judge Rudolph. It's my thought that Judge Rudolph should be violently murdered and have his brains blown through his head, and it's my prayer that somebody actually does it. Would you be sure to share that thought and prayer with the judge? Who is this calling? I'm one of the people. You need to know any more than that? You need to know any more than that? I'm one of the people. And all my calls are recorded for my sake.
Spoilers, Michael.
So, I'm sorry, you have to give me your name. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I required to give you my name for you to pass that message along? Well, I might go ahead and have a call. Oh, you would? Tell them Occupy Denver calls. No. But you can tell them that anyway. So it is my thought that Judge Rudolph should be violently murdered and have his brains splattered all over the face of his children. And it's my prayer that some motherfucker actually does it. You have any more questions? Kill, kill, kill. All judges should die. Kill, kill, kill. Kill, 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 kill. Do you have any questions? I'm asking you a question. Do you have any questions? Oh, if you like to repeat that, please do. Oh.
Goes on. I finished the busy docket that day. My clerk, Mr. Foy, walks in. The look of horror is something I've never seen with him. When he's telling me and my other clerk, Ms. Abeda, about this phone call that he just had with Mr. Brandt. For what? Because you want to broadcast on YouTube, because you think that it's okay to threaten and then say that all judges should be killed. All. Mr. Brandt, with that call, doubled down. And just to share these thoughts, and then I'll be done, Judge, because you have a busy day. For me, a judicial officer's life should never be threatened. Period. End of story. For me, it's that plain and it is that simple. Words have meaning. Words have consequences, and when certain words are spoken or phrases are used, they're not protected under the First Amendment. I'm a big First Amendment proponent. The United States Court has also, the Supreme Court has also said and stated, you just can't say whatever you want to, anytime, any place, anywhere. There are limits to your First Amendment right. As a judicial officer, when I accepted this position, I expect criticism. I expect for rulings to be ridiculed by one side or the other, and sometimes even both sides when you make rulings. Sometimes people don't get exactly what they ask for in your rulings. I understand anger, frustration, sadness, sometimes even joy, depending on who you rule for. All of those are perfectly legitimate reactions. Are judicial officers perfect? No. That's why we have a United States Supreme Court. We make rulings that maybe people disagree with. I get appealed by district court. I get reversed. I get affirmed. But that's the process, is appeals. When people go on and say you're stupid and all that stuff, okay, that's fine. You don't like a judge's behavior, etc., there's a process in place. Disciplinary commission, performance commission, things of that nature. You want to talk about their demeanor, their temperament, their smarts, whatever. By no means do you get to threaten the life of a judicial officer because you're unhappy with his or her ruling on your case or on somebody else's case, period. I understand mental illness. We deal with it in the courtroom to where I am assigned day in and day out. So many folks experiencing homelessness and trespassing. We deal with it all the time. Kept thinking I was going to be different. When he says this is Judge Rudolph's court, isn't it? And he says, and he doubled down when Mr. Foy asked him again, that not only should I be violently murdered, it is his thought that I should be violently murdered and have my brains blown through my head, and it is his prayer that someone actually does it, as we just witnessed. His is on YouTube. It's being broadcasted. It may not be Mr. Brandt, who may be all these other things I hear, good and quiet and acting out and quaint. I call crap. May not be him, but it may be one of the thousands of followers who decide to do that. To carry out his thought and his prayer, and then to have that be a lasting memory, just in case he wasn't clear enough, that my children be next to me when that happens, so that they have that lasting memory in their head of their dad being violently murdered because it is his thought and his prayer. When I didn't even have his case, it's the case of one of his YouTubers that he got so upset about. Came in and interrupted court to bring in 100 pennies and sat in the jury box in front of me with a shirt on, with a finger, as they kept going in. They know, because he is well settled in terms of what we do in court. He knew he shouldn't be in there. He knew we don't take bail bond money in there, but it was him to disrupt it. So much so to the point that even while he was visiting, on another YouTube video because now they're telling me about all these threats that keep coming. Visiting, I guess I think it was his mother in maybe South Dakota or Montana or someplace. That's on YouTube. He's still got a special word for me. I'm a POS. They're going to post my address and now come to my house and protest me. My neighbors don't deserve that. My family definitely doesn't deserve that. It's my job. All I'm doing is my job. Never called Mr. Brandt a name. Never actually really ruled against him if I didn't have a chance, even in that frame. But he decided that that's what should happen to me as a judicial officer. Later on in that call, which I stopped Judge Hoffman, my clerk asked him about identifying himself, and he says, at one point he says, I'm part of the people. Then he says, you tell him it's Occupy Denver. And then as Mr. Tafoya knows his voice as Mr. Brandt, he says, I didn't identify myself. He says, well, you've called here plenty of times. And then he says to him, well, so what? What are you going to do about it? You aren't going to do a damn thing about it. That's part of that call, too. And by the way, that call was sent to one of his people who then had the phone up while they're posting on YouTube, letting that call play. While they were talking about people that got arrested down here in the courtroom. You aren't going to do anything. Because he doesn't believe that there should be consequences for him. At all. He operates in a different sphere. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. So while he's up in visiting mom, he then decides to then again start talking about me. Then he thinks he finds a person while he's in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is also a YouTube video. It's where I'm born and raised. He thinks he finds a person who is my brother or father. He thinks it's my father. It's actually my brother. See, my grandmother raised me. I was adopted by her. So all those uncles and aunts became brothers and sisters. He doesn't know that. He wants to go visit Henry Rudolph, and he puts that on YouTube. My brother Henry Rudolph is one of the meanest, baddest individuals I've ever met in my life. You talk about doing some time. 5 to life in the Utah State Penitentiary. Probably a good thing you did not run into him because he loves his little brother. And at that time, he was living with my other brother. I wonder what would have went down at that point in time. Because that guy does not play. Does not, has never. But this was yet again, I'm going to go tell him not even understanding the danger that he was probably putting himself in, and maybe even my family, up in Cheyenne, because it became this game that was also on YouTube. When you think that it doesn't get worse, we then started getting more and more calls that same day and later on. We then had a call from a guy I got a call from the Larimer County Sheriff's Department of a guy who then goes on and says some of the same things about how I should be violently murdered and whatnot. And they asked me if I want to prosecute. Yep. You got a prosecutor, they want to file charges, do the same thing that Denver was finally brave enough to do. And by the way, I have to say, Judge, I believe that Denver did it first, then it might have been Adams, and then Jeffco.
Pardon me for interrupting. We're getting chats. Remove those people. Go ahead.
And when you have to go, and I saw the look on my clerk's face, and you have to go and say that to your family, and you got Captain Jordan from the Sheriff's Department coming in, seemed like weekly, with different things of videos. When you have to go, you have to explain that to your daughters who are home. My son's old enough. I had to explain it to him. He's up in Cheyenne, but I'm pretty sure he can handle himself if something like that happens. But you still have to tell him. You still have to be aware. I changed the way that I would drive in. The police put up a halo camera in front of my house. There were officers when I opened my garage in the morning, officers out front, officers watching. And I didn't really want to alarm my neighbors, so I never really told them until they kept saying, man, there's a cop car out in front of your house. There's cop cars in your back. What's happening? And then I have to tell them. You know, I get his service to the country. 8 years as a vet, I get it. My pops, who's a guy called Pops, while I was in Omaha, who was one of my dad's friends, did 2 tours in Nam. I love Pops, and he's still alive. I honor that service because I think it is those folks who fought for us. The reason that I'm able to even stand here. The reason that other people protest. But words have meanings. Words have consequences. When you use them loosely and when you spout things off. And I know, Judge, you don't want to hear about insurrection and politics, but those words had meanings. Those people acted on those words. And that's the problem, is that I don't know which one of his followers is going to act upon his words to do what he wants them to do. There's a gentleman that stood up and said, hey, he was a lost soul, and Mr. Brandt helped him. His ability to befriend people, and he is fiercely loyal. Well, that same fierce loyalty, the ability to befriend people, to have people follow you, could end up having me dead and killed with my brains splattered on my daughters because of his words. Now, I don't know necessarily, Judge Hoffman, what is an appropriate sentence, and I by no means is going to sit here and tell you how to do your job, because that would be inappropriate. Because I know for years you've done your job vehemently, appropriately, loyally, and always there for the people and under the Constitution that you have so sworn to uphold. I know that. The thing is what do you do with someone who espouses those things, who says those things? And if it then happened, I guess his thought and prayer was carried out, but he didn't have anything to do with it. Publicly, but privately, maybe through YouTube and all that, he's like, yeah, I'm glad that MF is gone. He was a disgrace, as he said. He's not smart. He's stupid. All of these things. If I would have been found hanging from a tree, guess he would have been okay with that too. You don't say those things. Those are not things you should say. And when you say, I heard counsel say, oh, well, he is fighting with PTSD and homelessness and mental health issues and those things, and he's a homosexual man. I got friends of all sorts of different backgrounds. And if he understands that, of being in that minority, then he should understand the color of my skin. And when you say that somebody should be best looking hanging from a tree, it's a racist statement. It's a violent statement. It's a terrible statement. When we talk about blowing brains out, it's ridiculous. I don't know. You hear behavior now, compliance now. Where was all that before? Did somebody turn over a new leaf? I don't know. He's moved far outside. But what about the folks who are still here today defying the very order that you just told them? What about the fact of kill, kill, kill? All judges should be killed. All. Not just the ones who don't have your case. All. For what? Because you cannot operate within the bounds of the law and peacefully protest and raise your issues without inciting violence. For what reason? Last week, and I'll close with this, because there was something else he said on the video when he thought he had found my dad. Something about bone cancer, and that he hoped that my dad would suffer with that. And he hoped that relatives, that should be on me too. My dad was an old protester at Colorado State University. He started the Association of Black Students there. He protested. There's a scholarship in his name there, under his name. When Al Yates was the president of CSU, the first Black president of Colorado State University, he invited my real father back, and I didn't meet him until I was 15. Invite him back to re-engage with the school and recognize the history and those people that fought for social injustice and equality. My dad instilled that in me after I met him, which is even more goes to why I would understand what Mr. Brandt would have been fighting for. One of the last things my dad asked me, and I lost him last Tuesday, April 21st at 5:30 a.m. to cancer, prostate cancer, not bone. He asked me, whatever happened to that guy who made those threats against my son and my grandbabies? One of the last things he asked me, I said, Dad, he pled guilty. There will be a sentencing, and I hope you'll be alive to know what happened. He's not, but he will understand and know what happened. And he never left a phone call without asking me about this case. I appreciate your time and your patience, Judge. I appreciate the time and patience of the district attorney's office and the fact that they actually decided to do something about this behavior. And with that, I'm going to take a seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Rudolph. Do we have Judge Crespin back yet?
Yes, Judge, can you hear me now?
Yes, what would you like to tell us, Judge?
Thank you, I appreciate your time. And I want to share some of the thoughts that Judge Rudolph expressed. I, as a minority female in the legal profession, know a great deal about discrimination, knowing a great deal about having to fight to even get the same type of treatment as other people. So I understand the thought process. I understand the deep-rooted desire to fight social injustice. And I wholeheartedly believe in everybody's constitutional rights, First Amendment rights to speak your mind and say what you want to about social injustice and whatever fight it is that you're fighting for, because I think that's a necessary part of our society. But that's not what we're talking about in this instance. I guess I had the misfortune of trying to provide an individual that was charged with a crime with a fair trial, a trial that Mr. Brandt was not involved in as a witness or the defendant. He, I think, shared the same attorney that this individual had that was on trial and decided to show up for the trial, which is something that we all welcome, an open and public trial. However, as a judge, your job is to make sure that everybody gets a fair trial and to ensure that there is appropriate decorum in the courtroom. And Mr. Brandt decided that was a perfect forum to engage in what he believes is social justice and to criticize the police department. That does not make for a fair trial for anybody. And in attempting to ensure and maintain decorum for that individual, for them to have their day in court, I attempted to do that. And in doing so, it was broadcast on YouTube for individuals and followers of Mr. Brandt to come to my courtroom, bring their guns, and shoot me and my division clerk in the head. When he was asked to maintain appropriate courtroom decorum. He wasn't kicked out of the courtroom, just asked to be quiet so that the trial could continue. The next day when he shows up with his associates carrying boxes of materials, that sort of thing, into the courtroom, created quite an unsettling and unsafe feeling, not only for me, but for my court staff, as well as the other individuals in the courtroom. And asking him to leave the courtroom, he proceeded to go outside and scream to whoever was listening, individuals walking in and out, again, advocating for me to be harmed, advocating for my family to be harmed, and advocating for other individuals to do this harm. And we say a lot of times that words are just words, they don't cause harm. However, as Judge Rudolph was indicating, and as counsel indicated, Mr. Brandt has a large following, as we can see here by the number of individuals here on WebEx, close to 400 individuals appearing in support of Mr. Brandt. Well, those supporters actually picked up the phone, calling my division, making additional threats for my harm, threats to harm my division clerk, who I guess had the misfortune of drawing that trial that week and being in the courtroom where Mr. Brandt decided to show up that day. And those words do have consequences, because I, like Judge Rudolph, had to be escorted to work every day, in and out. Police officers sitting at my home 24 hours a day. My children had to have police escorts to school, police escorts to classes, to sit in the schools for their protection. So words do have consequences. When you're fighting for social justice, I think that is a worthwhile cause and something that is very necessary in our society. However, when you're advocating for death of individuals that have no connection to you for simply doing their job, you may not like their how they do their job, but that doesn't equate to advocating for harm to come to those, because while words don't harm, the individuals who are receiving those words will engage in that, and did engage in that, as it did in my case, to me and Ms. Betts. And it is very difficult to make those phone calls to husbands and wives and children, that now they have to be on alert for somebody that they don't know who this person is, who their followers are, who their associates are, at every turn, every waking hour, and even in the evenings. It's unfathomable to me that sentimentality is out there, that they're just words, because they're not just words. They have real consequences, and people acted upon those words and made additional threats to me and my staff and my family. And it does have consequences. And I think it's really important to, when looking at the totality of the circumstances, as Mr. Brandt has, and I would applaud him for the work that he's done. However, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize, and the court should recognize, that he was on a deferred for this exact same type of behavior up in Adams County. The fact that he has 3 additional cases for exactly the same conduct sends in a very unique message that he just doesn't get it. And the excuse that it's just words or no harm come, it's not just words. It created a significant amount of cost to the community. It cost personal pain and anguish to the victims, myself included, my family included. That's just unnecessary. Advocate for social change, but when you advocate for indiscriminately killing judges just because you are upset with the system, that's not the way to do it. So, Judge, I do ask you to take that into consideration, the fact that he was on a deferred for the exact same behavior, and I understand that that judge gave him probation, but I think it's just, when you're advocating publicly on YouTube with as many followers as he has, there's no knowing where those words are going to land and how that's going to play out. So I just ask the court to take that into consideration in fashioning a sentence today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. O'Connor, what would you like to tell me?
I do have one anonymous letter due to safety concerns that I'd like to read as well as part of my sentencing argument.
You know, I'm not sure that's appropriate. What about the right of confrontation? I'm uncomfortable with that.
Your Honor, I know in other circumstances, courts have allowed it. I do think it would be helpful to the court. I don't see this as the right to confrontation in a sense of a trial where it's a sentencing hearing, and certainly I'm not cross-examining witnesses For the defense, I indicated to defense I'd certainly be happy if they wanted an additional witness and the court would allow, but it was not an actual witness that wanted to speak. It's just a letter that I was hoping to incorporate as part of my argument.
No. I'm not letting these hundreds of people, half of whom are anonymous, and half, by the way, of those are sending chats, even though I've told them not to. I'm not reading any of their chats. I'm not paying attention to any of their chats. This is not a place for anonymous people to give me their thoughts. I don't care about their thoughts. Go ahead.
Your Honor, and just so the court understands the context, we were contacted in advance of the sentencing, and it's a judge who wanted to remain anonymous.
No, I'm not anonymous. I'm the judge that's about to sentence Mr. Brandt. If this judge doesn't have the courage to tell us who he or she is, I'm not willing to listen to him.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you. Your Honor, just to put this in perspective, based on the parameters of the plea agreement, the defendant is enhanced and was on a DG at the time. So it is 2 to 6 on each count, a total of 2 years to 18 years in the Department of Corrections. He's also eligible for community corrections and is certainly probation eligible. Your Honor, as many other judges across the state, like yourself, have awesome responsibilities. In criminal rotations in particular.
Do you have an issue about the?
I do think that minimum is incorrect because he was on a deferred judgment. I believe the minimum is 1. It's not a midpoint aggravator.
It's just enhanced. It's
enhanced, yes. So then
1 to 6.
1 to 18.
1 to 6 on each count.
Yes,
okay.
I misspoke. Thank you, counsel. In criminal rotations in particular, you make decisions like the one you will need to make today. And it affects people's lives and it affects people's liberty. And you decide whether Mr. Brandt gets probation or up to 18 years in prison. The nature of these decisions is inevitably emotional and cause angst and disappointment. To loved ones of a defendant where the judge chooses incarceration, it infuriates, it causes hostile reactions as this court has seen for years. On the other side, when the court gives leniency or community supervision, it can enrage families of victims who want punishment and are still hurting. The court has seen these emotions, has been a target, has been a channel for their rage, yet you have to be trained to ignore it and to rise above it, as you often do, and as Judge Rudolph talked about having to do. But here what you have is Mr. Brandt, who Judge Rudolph was ordering members of Occupy Denver out of the building due to a report of jury tampering that led to a mistrial. He's a member, Mr. Brandt, of that Occupy Denver, and his friends were affected. A minor grievance in the whole scheme of things of what the court sees and about how people are affected by decisions that judges make. And he chooses to threaten Judge Rudolph over this and invite all his followers to act violently against Judge Rudolph. He prides himself on being civic-minded and affecting change in the process. So influence others to vote out Judge Rudolph, report it to the Judicial Performance Commission. But every time he feels slighted or his friends are slighted or called to task, he chooses threats and advocates violence, and followers are listening. Who hides behind the First Amendment, but this is not protected speech. His actions are criminal and he has admitted guilt, and now he must be punished for it. When the court accepted this disposition, we submitted a PSI that the parties agreed upon as far as his prior history and social background. We gave limited facts as part of the admission to the factual basis. And I believe with respect to the incident in Denver, with Judge Rudolph's statement as well and his victim impact statement, the court has heard most of those facts. The only thing I would highlight for the court is that on December 19th, the next day, he posted Judge Rudolph's home address to his followers. And then again, there was a discussion on December 20th with Eric Brandt's YouTube posting about rifles and discussion of Judge Rudolph's daughter and wife. Then there was on December 21st, the call to action in Wyoming with a family member who he believed to be related to Judge Rudolph. And then you heard about the threats before any of this escalated. But when he said that about Judge Rudolph, he also incorporated what a disgrace to the judiciary when he asked what he would look like hanging from a tree. In Jefferson County, the court heard some of the factual basis at the time of the admission, but again, threatening, Judge, and I do not know if I'm pronouncing her name right, Majid, I'm coming for you, what the fuck? You need to think about what you did. This is what I advocate, is the killing of random cops and judges. The reason is to shock you into compliance. So if you don't want violent end, I am prophesizing, then you should do something about it and stop acting so fucking stupid. I hope somebody blows her brains out. The judge was visibly upset and requested extra patrols. The court has heard, too, some of the context regarding the Adams County incident on December 2nd, where Judge Crespin and her clerk, Emily Betts, and then Deputy Bonder was a sheriff's deputy who was a witness. There was discussion in his YouTube stream by Mr. Brandt with his followers, imploring them to fuck Joseph Bonder in the fucking eyeball with a hot poker. Then he proceeds to target his words towards Miss Betts, calling her names, talking about somebody should push her down the stairs and give her a real reason to cry. He continued then to target Judge Crespin. And maybe it's time to give them a reason to cry. Bang, 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 just like that. According to Brandt further, that Judge Crespin and Miss Betts should be afraid for their lives because people need to start killing them. On December 3rd, there was another YouTube stream that was outside the courtroom. And again, threatening that Judge Crespin should die. And his wishes and prayers again that somebody blows her brains out. He identifies himself as a dangerous weapon. The defendant then further tries to interfere by telling Deputy Bonder not to testify during the trial the next day. You should call in sick, you don't want to testify tomorrow. Threatening, again, interfering with the judicial process. It is noted from Adams County prosecutors that within 17 hours of that video that he posted, it had been viewed 3,000 times. The defendant further announced to followers that he thinks Judge Crespin should die and he wishes and prays somebody should blow her brains out. That was when he identified himself as a dangerous weapon. In the law enforcement that was following this and trying to protect those that were involved in this process, there's attributes that within 5 hours of that video that he had posted, that it had been viewed 1,573 times. These aren't just words, but again, calls to action for people who are blindly following Eric Brandt to act on violence against judges and others. It goes on where there's another incident at the IHOP where he's posting a video, again, calling to action for the killing of judges, police, and stupid bailiffs. So that's the conduct that the court has before it. And his behavior is to blame for it. And he has pled guilty to serious criminal felonious conduct, where he's no longer hiding behind the cloak of the First Amendment. And he needs to be accountable for those decisions he made, not only to threaten 3 judges, deputies, and staff in 3 different jurisdictions, but that he advocated and took further steps to advocate that that violence be acted on. It not only affects the personal safety and emotional well-being of these judges and other court professionals and law enforcement, but it threatens the integrity of the judicial proceedings. The court heard how great the personal impact was, so I will not belabor it, but I think the victim impact here is important for the court to consider. My understanding as far as Judge Majid is that she was scared badly and had extra patrols around her home, and her family had to leave town as a result of these threats. The court has obviously heard the powerful words from Judge Rudolph and Judge Crespin and Ms. Betts. To me, the most relevant sentencing theories for the court to consider with respect to Mr. Brandt today is rehabilitation, deterrence, and incapacitation. What we would implore the court not to do is to impose probation, assuming that the court is considering it, for a variety of reasons. One is, for what purpose? What are his needs that the court can sentence him to a probationary sentence that will rehabilitate him in the community? As Judge Crespin pointed out, he was on a felony deferred judgment at the time that he committed these offenses. That particular, I know there was a reading by defense about what Special Prosecutor Kelly Easton had said. And Judge, I understand. I've seen this court before on a first revocation of a DJ, giving a defendant an opportunity with perhaps a punitive sanction of jail or not, re-granting the ability to be on probation. So that's understandable in that particular case, but not in this case where you have this multiple felony level conduct, which is very similar. The court did not have a summary of what happened in that case, which is the 17 CR 1584. But he was angry with Adams County District Court Judge Catherine Delgado. And he said at one point on his Facebook page, "What do you think would happen if I threatened to blow up the Adams County Social Services building? I know one thing is for certain, they should really pay attention to what they are doing because eventually somebody's be pushed too far and take the law into their own hands." He then went on the next day in a Facebook post specifically saying about the constant worry of death is more than pain and torture than death itself. It goes on. Again, he threatens Judge Delgado in that particular case. So it is very similar conduct, and he hasn't learned, and he continues to threaten judge and call for action in 3 separate jurisdictions. From experience, I know that the defendant's criminal history does not always play a large role in this court sentencing. But one thing I would note for the court is that Mr. Brandt has repeatedly, in one occasion in this case, introduced his whatever 30-page criminal history to show how many times his cases have been dismissed or been found not guilty, which is highly unusual for a person to gloat about that extensive arrest and criminal history. But what the court has here is that, by my count, he has at least 12 misdemeanors or city convictions for various offenses, including assault, disorderly trespass, harassment within the last 10 years. Coincidentally, around that same length of time, he has been unemployed. There does not appear to be any reason why he does not work. He is capable of working. He is educated. By accounts, I didn't have a chance to read all of the mitigation, but he should be working. He's not working. He's not being a productive member of society. As far as the veteran aspect of it, there was no request for him to do Veterans Court probation here. There was no screen. There was no ASR. And honestly, we don't believe that probation is appropriate here. Mental health, I do not see, nor have I seen before the court, an actual diagnosis for Mr. Brandt. There was some reference in the PSI that a follow-up mental health evaluation was going to be done with respect to that special pros. But I don't believe that the court has before it that he has an actual legitimate diagnosis to be treated through probation. Substance abuse treatment. He came into this court and told Judge Ellis he doesn't have any problem with drugs. He doesn't have any problem with meth. Judge Ellis took off the condition for random UAs and monitored sobriety. Now the probation PSI tells a different story and suggests that he does need high-level treatment for meth use. But he says he doesn't need any treatment. So the court should not give him probation to address his treatment that he's not willing to address and doesn't need to be addressed because he's now sober and doesn't need any treatment. He has been given numerous opportunities at probation and supervision, and he cannot behave or be effectively managed in the community because he committed these offenses while on that level of supervision. Again, probation also unduly depreciates the seriousness of these offenses and the multiple offense. To put him back on probation, where he committed multiple similar offenses with escalating and targeting 3 judges and other court staff in 3 jurisdictions, would be irresponsible. If the court, which we implore the court not to, is seriously considering probation, there's no limit on the length of time that the court could impose probation for. If the court is seriously considering probation, we'd ask the court to impose a 10-year, maybe even a 20-year sentence, because what people want is Eric Brandt to leave them alone, to let them do their jobs, to let the civic civic experience take its course, to let the criminal justice system work. The criminal justice system has enough issues right now with the pandemic and a number of other issues. That's what people want, and that's what I hear from, is that people want him to leave them alone. How do you ensure that? One way, the only way you could do that if the court found a probationary sentence is appropriate, would be for a significant length of time. I would also implore the court, if the court seriously considers giving him probation, to give him a 126-day recon. He needs a punitive sanction related to this case. But again, I'm going to go on to why we do not believe that probation is appropriate. The defendant's lack of remorse is an additional factor I think the court should consider. At every turn, he has not had any appearance of remorse or regret. Anything is disingenuous or hollow or non-existent. He has not shown any empathy for the actions that he has taken. There was a very hollow, he apologizes today, and that's it. If he doesn't acknowledge that he did anything wrong, how can we have any hope that he's not going to continue to make the same decisions that he did? That is concerning to the people to have any assurance that he will behave in the future. Incapacitation is an applicable theory for the court. It would be the best tool to achieve that he does not disrupt the system, that he does not continue to threaten people and implore violence against those who work in the system. People who are just doing their jobs day in and day out. It would ensure that he not interfere with the administration of justice that, again, has all those challenges, and it also would be punitive, which would be appropriate. Another appropriate theory that we would ask the court to consider is deterrence to warrant a prison sentence here. We need a substantial prison sentence to deter him and others from this course of conduct that places judges and their staff and their families in danger and the whole criminal justice system in danger. This defendant, Your Honor, deserves to be punished for his conduct and for threatening and advocating that members of the judiciary or their staff be harmed or killed. Brandt's threats and his call for action by his followers who blindly follow him to commit violence on judges and their families, it is time for Eric Brandt to be held accountable, Your Honor, for his actions.
Thank you. Mr. Brandt, you have a right to speak to me before I send you. Is there anything you'd like to say, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can do it from there, but it might be more comfortable at the podium. What would you like to tell me, sir?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
First, I will apologize for disruptions with the WebEx, and I will ask the court to be patient with that because not necessarily all those people are on my side. They may be deliberately trying to disrupt.
I'm not holding you responsible for anything they do.
Okay, I will tell you that I have asked if I have followers, which I think is a little lofty, that if I have followers, then I would expect that they're behaving, and I appreciate that as well. And I thank you for opening the WebEx for this hearing. I think it's obviously an important day and an important question. First of all, I drove this plea agreement. I want the court to know that. I think that my attorneys did a great job. I think that they mounted great defenses. I think there are perhaps legally defensible questions associated with these cases. And I think that my need to accept accountability for the fact that words do have meaning was outweighing any of those potential legal remedies that I might be able to enjoy. And I would argue that I have shown in the last year and a half that I'm capable of towing the court's line. I don't know, how many days did you say we had credit?
80.
Well, I have 85 days of credit for time served. That reflects the fact that it took some time for me to revoke my bond and start earning that credit. I actually was in custody for nearly 6 months. And while I was in custody in Jefferson County, I took advantage of their behavioral health unit services. And I did that. That's a voluntary thing. I was completely compliant with that. We were driving towards a veterans court solution, which we did not seek here. I'm not sure why we did, but that's fine. But in fact, sorry. I was in fact accepted in Jefferson County for their veterans court program. They have resources available for me. They have educational resources available for me. And some of those resources could include law school, which I realize is a large hurdle for somebody with a felony conviction, but it's not an impossible hurdle. I took advantage of those programs. I was 100% compliant. I never even had so much as a verbal write-up the whole time that I was there. When I got out of custody a year ago, I sought the treatment. I sought Mr. Mears. Mr. Mears is in my area. I have moved out of the Denver metro area. In the time that I've been out of custody, I have achieved stable housing. I have achieved a property that I'm trying to build. It's 35 acres. I have achieved a much higher degree of mental health. At the time that these incidents occurred a year and a half ago, both of my parents were in dire medical condition. As Mr. Rudolph indicated, that I went to Montana because my mother was on a ventilator. I do think that the mortal condition of my parents was a major factor. And I will also say that I've not discounted a substance abuse question. That's not a question. The question was not, did I have a substance abuse past? The question was, has it been addressed? And that question has been addressed. I've been sober for nearly 2 years now. So would I be objected to substance abuse treatment? I'm not sure. The reason why I asked to be taken off of the screenings was that they just, for 2.5 years, there was nothing there. I've worked to address that. I think that Mr. Mears indicated that that's a major hurdle. If you can't overcome that hurdle, then you can't move on to the next step. And I worked very hard to come over that hurdle. I'm proud that I overcame that hurdle. And in addition to my parents' condition 2 years ago when these occurred, that was an issue. I was finally achieving some level of sobriety and some restoring a sense of self-worth. I drove this plea agreement. I drove it pretty hard. I did drive it pretty hard. And I appreciate that you worked an agreement out with that. I drove this plea agreement because I'm at a stage in my mind where I need to apologize to my victims. I learned things today that I didn't know about the impact on my victims, and I'm sorry for that. And I was going to ask the court as part of my sentencing, if it were appropriate, I wanted to apologize to those victims in writing, should the court find it appropriate for me to guide that through the court for their approval. And now I have more information to do that with. I couldn't apologize to my victims. I couldn't show remorse when I still had a pending criminal prosecution. So we're not here today because I made case law ensuring that people can distribute literature in front of courthouses. We're not here because I made case law about what fighting words are as it relates to disorderly conduct. I'm not here because I've prevailed on 82% of my arrests, which are certainly indicative of misconduct at the police level. We're not here for that. We're not here because of my successes. We're here today because I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line legally. My attorneys think that we have good defenses, but I think that I crossed the line morally. So if there are any followers, first of all, I'll tell you that they don't follow blindly. You heard from Ms. Springsteen. She doesn't agree with everything I say. If anything, I wish I had followed my followers' guidance earlier on. I wish I had listened to them earlier on. Followers aren't following blindly, but in the event that they are following blindly, I would hope that they take a look at my successes. I think I have made progress in a lot of realms. I hope that they model that. More importantly, I wanted to stand here and tell the court and tell the public who's clearly listening, there are lines in the sand. Those lines may not be legal lines. They might be ethical and moral lines that might pass as legal things, but they might not be right. And that's what I'm here to do today. I want to apologize to Judge Rudolph. I've not been allowed to do that until now.
And still, don't address your comments to him, address your comments to me. It's one of the rules.
Yes, sir. I would like to do that. I've wanted to do that. My lawyers will tell you that I've wanted to do that, but they've not allowed me to do that. I want to do that. I want the court to sentence me to write apology letters to my victims today, because I do have something to say to them that I think is appropriate. I do, and it's not about them, it's about me. I crossed a line. There are lines. I really hope that people take from this that you can negate 8 years of good activism with a single stroke. So if I had any followers, then I would assume that as of today, I probably do not really have that many. And that's probably appropriate because I'm not your champion. I'm not the guy. I didn't make it. I couldn't take the pressure. I didn't make it. So what I'm asking the court to do today, I have no objection to a lengthy probation period. I think that I can prove to the court that I'll comply. I've been complying for the last year and a half. I do acknowledge and recognize the severity of my words. Words really do hurt. They really do have a meaning. Even if it may be legal, it may not be right. And that's what I want people to take away from this today. I am standing here before you today, asking you to allow me to continue my treatment with Mr. Mears. I think the fact that I'm almost completed with a Denver probation in one case is indicative that I can complete probation. I think that my compliance with pretrial services is indicative that I will comply with the court. I think that my compliance with the Adams County probation, where they've taken me from maximum supervision to minimum supervision, and even because of my UA history, they've removed me from drug screening. I would have no objection to drug screening, except that it is expensive. It's about 3 hours drive for me to do a test. And I would ask if the court is able to put me on probation, that at some point, once the Denver probation thinks it's appropriate, that it might be transferred down to where I'm living. I'd like to move forward with building my ranch. I can't make commitments to those things. I don't know if I'll be able to pay for it if I'm in custody. I can't commit to contracts. I'm now in a stuck state, and I'm ready to move forward. I'm asking the court to impose a suspended sentence and probation, and I'm willing to accept my bitter pill.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let me start out with a couple general comments. First of all, I've never heard of Eric Brandt. If he didn't make the sports pages of our local paper or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, I've not heard of him. It's been 2 decades probably since I've watched or listened to any local media. I don't know if that's good news for him or bad news for him, but that's the fact. The other general thing I wanted to say is I am, as I think all judges would be, a little bit uncomfortable being in this position where the victims in this case are judges. We are all trained to be hypersensitive about conflicts, and this makes me uncomfortable. But when judges are victims, only judges can impose sentences because only judges have the power to impose sentences. Could we bring a senior judge in here to have done this case? Sure, but it's the same problem. The senior judge is still a senior judge with judicial powers. The good news, I guess, is that I'm retiring in 4 days. And so unlike senior judges who will continue to be senior judges, I will not be a judge after April 30th. I'm not doing the senior judge program. I'm not doing any judging. So maybe this is sort of the best accidental solution to this intractable problem of judges imposing sentences when victims are judges. The third thing I want to talk about is these questions that have been raised by various people about different theories of criminal punishment. And our statutes, of course, require us to consider all the justifications for punishment, retribution, deterrence, incapacitation, rehabilitation. But I've said this for 30 years from this bench. I don't, of all of those theories, retribution speaks to me more than any of the others. The criminal law is about this social contract that we've all entered into, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't want to go on forever, but as I've said before, punishment is really about the social contract. People who have violated the social contract have to pay to come back into the fold. And although we do have to pay attention to deterrence and incapacitation and rehabilitation, all of these theories have profound limits for me. In incapacitation, you know, murderers have the lowest recidivism rate of anybody, and forgers have the highest. Well, then why don't we send forgers to the penitentiary for life? Incapacitation is not a sensible, at least not a complete theory. Deterrence, I have no idea what deters and what doesn't. And there's something unjust to me about punishing Mr. Brandt because we're worried that somebody who likes him is going to do something. That doesn't seem fair to me. Rehabilitation, I have no idea about that. I'm not wise enough to know whether the sentence that I impose today is going to change Mr. Brandt's behavior or not.
Hey guys, thank you so much for so many of you still being here, man. I really appreciate that. I set a timer, but it didn't take, so I'm gonna set another timer until this is over. And thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you guys.
I've been doing this long enough to be surprised. People that I thought were going to change haven't. People who I thought were hopeless have changed. All I know is that the free will all of us has makes these predictions about dangerousness and about rehabilitation, about reoffending, really the worst kinds of guesses. At least for me, I can't make these guesses. So the only, not the only, but the sentencing theory that makes most sense to me is rehabilitation, is retribution. How much do I have to punish Mr. Brandt so he can come back into the fold? And on this point, you know, we're not just talking about the social compact our forefathers entered into in 1789. It's not, it's way deeper than that. And because I'm focused on retribution, I focus on the crime that bring people here. That's the only thing that gives me jurisdiction. What's appropriate to punish Mr. Brandt for what he did, not for who he is, not for what his followers do, not for what he did in other cases. This is why I don't pay as much attention to criminal history as some of my colleagues. Here's what he did in this case. He told Judge Rudolph's staff, and I know this has been said, but it's worth saying again and again and again during the sentencing. It is my thought that Judge Rudolph should be violently murdered and have his brains splattered on the faces of his children. There's much more to it than that, but I think that encapsulates it. I want to know who in the world thinks that that's okay. Nobody thinks that's okay, including Mr. Brandt.
It's not, Your Honor.
I'm not asking you if you think it's okay, Mr. Brandt. I know now that you only violates the social contract. It not only violates the law, it violates 200,000 years of human evolution. We are all in this together. There are lines we cannot cross. It's hard for me to say this. I'm an unreconstructed libertarian at heart. There were aspects of this job that were hard for me. I don't trust the government in lots of dimensions. But there's one dimension that I not only trust the government in, but I've devoted my life to. And it's enforcing the social contract that says it's wrong for you to tell somebody you're hoping their brains get splattered on their children. And if anybody listening is not offended by that, there's something wrong with you. You are loons if you're not offended by that. And it doesn't matter how many YouTube videos or how much press you can get by being loons, you're still loons. And the widespread dissemination of lunacy does not change the fact that it's lunacy. Here's what makes it hard for me in this case. Mr. Brandt richly deserves the penitentiary, and I'm going to send him to the penitentiary. But and this happens sometimes, the person who gets sentenced is sometimes not the person who did the crime. They've changed, they've grown. Let me tell you, they always say they have. Whether they have or not, I don't know. I take Mr. Brandt at his word. I believe he's truly sorry for what he did. I was impressed that he talked about how this crossed a moral line. No kidding. I'd like all of you to think about how you would feel if somebody with real power, not fake, cowardly power, real power, like I have, said something like that to you with the power to make it happen. It's terrible. Those of us with real power, not fake, cowardly power, don't like imposing sentences. This is the worst part of my job. I get no joy sending people to the penitentiary, none. And judges who do get joy out of it should retire. They're psychopaths. Only a psychopath would get joy out of inflicting the kind of pain that I'm about to inflict on you, and I get no joy from it. And only psychopaths would get joy from inflicting the kind of pain on Judge Rudolph and these other judges that you inflicted. Judge Rudolph can take this. When I was thinking about this case over the weekend, I thought, here's what I should do. I should give Mr. Brandt probation on the condition that he and Judge Rudolph go 3 rounds in the ring, and I let Judge Rudolph pound you into the canvas. That's what I would like to do. But unlike you, Mr. Brandt, I can't do everything that I want to do. I'm bounded by the law. I'm bounded by the social contract, and I can't just say anything or do anything. So there are restrictions on what I can do. This behavior deserves the maximum sentence, which I'm not going to impose, for several reasons. First of all, it was quite meaningful to me to hear that Mr. Brandt has done so well in probation. He's a Navy veteran. That means something to me. That means he, at one time, knew that he had a social contract to defend. And I appreciate his service, and he should get some honor for that. Also, I think it was hard for him, because I take it that this does not come naturally, for him to come to the podium and say that what he did was wrong. There's probably nothing any of us ever does other than sentencing people, which fortunately most of you don't have to do, that is more hard than saying we're wrong. And I appreciate that. Mr. Brandt, on each of these 3 counts, you're sentenced to 4 years in the Department of Corrections, plus a mandatory 2-year parole period. These sentences will run consecutive to one another. And I have 85 days pre-sentence confinement. Is that right, counsel? 85 days? Counsel.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
85 days pre-sentence confinement?
Yes, Your Honor.
85 days, we'll put that on count 1. Fees and costs in the usual felony amounts. Is there restitution?
Your Honor, if I could ask to reserve, please.
Restitution's reserved for 63 days. I know we have a jillion people on for the rest of my docket. I'm going to take 10 minutes and we'll finish it. Mr. Brandt is remanded to the Department of Corrections.
Strong.
Thank you. Thank you, counsel.
Brother. We love you, Eric. Ha!
Be ashamed of yourselves. Be ashamed.
Stay strong, man. Love you, Eric.
Be ashamed.
Stay strong. Love you, Eric.
Judging on your feelings don't trump rights.
We love you, Eric. Stay strong, brother.
Damn it.
Love you, bully.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
You talking about the clinic in Frostproof? You talking about the clinic in Frostproof? Oh, in Lake Wales. Okay. Hold on one second, Mom, okay? Hold on. Thank you, everybody, for joining me and watching the videos, especially for, 3-4 hours you guys been watching. Appreciate you. I'm on the phone with my mother and my brother, and much love. See you guys. Bye.